Denny J Show.
Zvanga zviri downtown up tauraidzwe nyaya dzacho dzese narrative ndaichidwe kana mchida kutipisa deep ndaipidwe make you spill a bean if you know what I mean Andy.
It's time!
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Denny J Show. Becky.
What's popping?
Nothing much. What's happening?
No, all good. How was the week?
The week was great. Sam. People love Sam. Sam could take this guy's job.
He could. Easy.
Sam is a funny guy.
Funny guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was hilarious.
Yeah. And we had to cut down the content because of time.
He had so much content. He had so much to say. We could have asked him about each and every artist that he's ever worked with. And I'm sure he was in his spark.
My one.
Yeah, he was pretty cool. Sam, so if it doesn't work out as the drama or with Tandy.
Yeah, what's the Tandy?
It wasn't Tandy.
I hope she's going to come through. We're still waiting.
I hope she does. He can always just do stand-up comedy and help some people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today.
Yeah, because some people... Okay, I'm not the funny one on the show today, so let me calm down. So today, our guest is a funny guy, born on the 25th of May, 1979. This man is old.
Yeah, that's a long time ago, before independence.
Does he qualify for Ancient of Days?
I'll actually be safe, yeah. I mean, it's before independence.
Dinosaur.
That's a long time ago.
So he's older than Zimbabwe.
Yes.
Born in Kwabulawayo Mpilo Hospital. Fun fact, he was born on the floor.
So he says, or so you know, my mothers lie. This guy looks like he was born on the bed.
But you know those people whom you question and say, and then and then there's that thing. He was born on the floor. But anyway, went to BG out of many primary schools. I'm sure he will let us know exactly why he went to so many primary schools. But BG, Baham Green in Bulawayo was one of the primary schools that he went to. Did his high school at PE. I have no idea what tertiary qualification he has. He's probably going to let us know.
Yeah, okay.
But he says his dad...
why are you putting pressure on him with tertiary education or like what?
No, you know what? It's just to know whether you did it or not. Not that it's like a deciding factor if you're successful or not. It's just to know.
All right.
Okay. Yeah. His dad was a comedian, and he then said, I am going to manage my father. So he studied comedy for 10 years and then didn't manage his dad and then took the dad's job and I'm going to do it better than you, my guy. He's a celebrity chef, cooks really well. I've never tasted his food, but Shamari, when you just look at that food, you're just like, oh, yeah.
Yep.
Give me some of that. He's an entrepreneur and husband to a beautiful lady named Nelsie. Ladies and gentlemen.
Wait, I got more.
Oh, okay, go on. I don't trust you.
I got more.
Should we drink to that?
Comedy Central says he has to be the funniest comedian Zimbabwe's ever produced.
Yeah, CNN
That's
said
Comedy
the same
Central
thing.
Africa.
Yeah.
African Voices calls him the new face of Zimbabwean comedy. That's CNN African Voices.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, is that drum roll?
Who is this?
The one, the only funny guy, Joshua Ncube.
Thank you for this auspicious. How are you guys doing? This was pretty amazing hearing your life being said back to you.
And you're thinking, is that
You
me?
did all that. I did
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
It's
well,
like
I mean, there's plenty more that you did. I mean, you did some TED Talks twice.
Yes.
I only know the one, so now I'm just going to be going to hunt for the second one.
For the second TED Talk,
I know
yes.
it is packed. I know it is packed. But tell us about growing up in Bulawayo.
Wow. I'm older than Zimbabwe, right?
Well done.
And so I'm born at a time where this country is going through a very weird period. I'm born to a Ndebele father and a Shona mother. And, so I'm named Carl Joshua Ncube Tinodawanu Ncube.
Hey.
So when I was born in Pilo, my dad was very excited about getting into independence, Joshua Ncube and everything. And then finds out that his dad's name, his father used to sign Samuel J. Ncube. They didn't know what the J was.
Okay.
Found out J meant Joshua. So they dropped Nkomo, and then I was named after a less famous
Oh, okay, but
Joshua. It's my grandfather, but I would have preferred. I actually want to take back my former name, which is my Joshua Nkomo name, because that would have been great. And also being a stand-up comedian, everyone says that I have beef with a lot of people. Beef, Nkomo, cow.
Oh gosh,
it makes sense. I don't know. It makes sense.
You know that sound we were waiting. Like,
That was the moment right there.
What, dry jokes too?
I know. That's how.
I feel sorry for
I know. That's how. It's my upbringing. I have to connect with my ancestry and where I come from. That's who I am.
Ancestry of comedians. I wonder what that looks like.
I know. It's insane. I think we just come from a long line of comedians. My grandfather apparently.
Long line of jokers.
Yes, I know. My dad was actually a stand-up comedian, right? Like in his part-time. So he would do weddings. He would do birthday parties, that kind of thing. And I was like, you know what? It was really bad thinking because I worked in advertising, so I wanted to manage my dad. And so I saw my dad, older man. I likened him to Bill Cosby, not the sexual stuff, but I mean the jokes. And so I was like, I could manage my dad, could really take my dad international. I had a business plan. My dad was just too afraid. So I decided I was going to do a show to show my dad. And when I showed him, I think we performed together that night in Bulawayo. And then that was the last time I saw my dad alive. So he died shortly after. So comedy for me was less about what I wanted to do and more about, okay, can we still prove this theory works, that my father could, his jokes could work. So there's certain part of my show, like it's usually like 50 to 40% of my shows, partly my dad's jokes, but they've evolved into a lot of my jokes. Then there's my jokes that I write. So a lot of the newer materials, my stuff, a lot of the older stuff is really my dad.
So you inherited the jokes?
Yeah, I did. I literally, because my dad can't come back to me for royalties. So there's no structure. You can't go to Zimura
and be like,
they do not accept ghosts.
No,
they don't. I accept ancestors. So I could literally, no, literally in my family, right? In the Ncube family, there's some people who actually believe that I stole my dad's jokes and then built up my career. And I'm like, no, I didn't steal my dad's jokes. I am his genetics. I'm entitled. I inherited his jokes. Right. But they don't understand the significance of what comedy is to me and why it's important to push, because my dad is Charles Palmer Ncube, so it's important to push his jokes around the world to see, could my dad have been international? I mean,
and when you share your dad's jokes, do people like roll over and be like, oh my goodness?
I mean, there's some of my best classical ones, but they're now, because, Twitter has basically a lot of assholes. So, those are the jokes that people say, Carl must change his jokes. And I'm like, to hell with you. I'm not changing those jokes. Like, I mean, I perform them because they are my dad's jokes, you idiot. So, like, and I've explained, I don't know, don't you read? There's newspapers.
Right.
Like, read about
What's wrong with some people? Like, I'm saying there are those jokes that I do. And I do them because they have a personal thing for me anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the different primary schools that you went to, right? This is you happy to be in Bulawayo, working with your dad, but before going into the whole working with your dad on stage and wanting to manage him.
Yeah.
There's quite a list of primary
schools. Yeah, like I had an unhappy childhood. Well, firstly, it starts off with when I turned 5, my mom was pregnant, and I told her, when you go and buy my baby brother, name him David, right? And so when David comes home, I noticed he's sleeping in my parents' room. I was like, I thought you said he was your baby brother. So he was mine. He was like something for me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, why is he sleeping in your room if he's like, and then so I came up with this plan to go steal my baby brother to bring him to my room. So I picked him up, those cots, and then I dropped him on his head. Pa! And I lifted the baby, I put him back in the cot.
Like, oops.
And so my brother and I are close, but my brother only until a few years ago found out that the reason why we're close is because I keep checking for brain damage. I just want to know if he's okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just need to know. And also, being a diabetic, you keep your kidney donors close.
Yes.
Yeah, like just in case. So I have to be.
You're gonna need them.
No, I love my brother, but yeah, that's. Yeah. So I went to a lot of. So at that point, my parents split up. Very traumatic for me. my parents started using me as a little, he's mine. So I lived with my dad for 2 years, lived with my mom for 2 years. So that's where I started in Barham Green. And then I went to Borrowdale Primary School because I was now living with my mom's relatives. And then I moved back to Bulawayo because and then I went to Greenfield, grade 3 and 4. And then my mom got a job at Wadlove. And then I went there. And then I skipped a grade because I went into the wrong class. I just went because Wadlove was still.
Then you just continued.
Wadlove was a mission. It was a mission school, and when you're a teacher's child,
just get into that.
You are the rich guys, right? So I was the only one in a full uniform. Like the other kids didn't even have. Like the only place where you could see the uniform was me. So I literally. I remember I ended up in the wrong class, a grade 6 class instead of a grade 5 class. And then one of my colleagues found out that I was in the wrong class and I had to bring in my sandwiches every single day for a whole term. Until one point, my mom made this beautiful sunny side up sort of toasted grilled cheese egg thing sandwich, and I took it to school. And this guy was like, my sandwich, I was like, hell no. It's like, I'm going to tell them that you skipped a grade. I was like, go ahead, do it.
So you actually skipped a grade?
I skipped a grade. Literally, I skipped a grade. And It's funny, when my mom got called in, I got into trouble and everyone was like, he's just wasted a whole term. Can you imagine your child has just wasted a whole term of education? My mom says, is he doing well in grade 6? Yeah, he's in the top 10. Okay, so just keep him. So what's the problem? So that's how I skipped a grade. So from Wadlove, I then went to Mtare Junior School because my mom got moved there. And then I went to Prince Edward. But when I was at Prince Edward, I lived with, I think, every relative of mine. I lived in Mavuku where I ran a freezer business there. And then I went to, Marlborough. Then I lived in Avondale. Then we lived in town. It was a whole bunch of places.
How was that, talking about your childhood, right now, looking back, what are you thinking right now?
You know what? Zimbabwe is like a gym. I don't know what it is, but Hardships have a way of training you for the global audience. So when you take anything you do in Zimbabwe, whether it's a bad childhood experience, elsewhere it's like an easy way. Like, for example, my wife can't understand why it's so easy for me to just pack up and go from place to place, how I can have a best friend on a day. Like I literally, my mind is so temporary that I literally can live from country to country and call it home and it doesn't matter. And so for me, I feel like that's what it was like. And even just I call myself a self-appointed ambassador. It's not like I'm not waiting for the government to tell me that, represent Zimbabwe. But the reason why I represent Zimbabwe is because I came up in a time where it wasn't fashionable to be a Ndebele kid in Harare. And it wasn't fashionable to be a Shona kid in Bulawayo. And so the games my cousins used to play, they used to lock me up in a cupboard and say, we're playing cops and robbers. Come distant. Look up. Go, these are the things that I had to grow up with. But in my mindset, I was like, I don't identify as Shona and I don't identify as Ndebele. I identify as being Zimbabwean. I hadn't realized that was going to be the key tool that I would use in whatever work that I'm doing. Because I don't subscribe. I don't subscribe to tribalism. I don't subscribe to any of those things. I just subscribe to a bigger narrative, which is, what is Zimbabwean? What's the biggest thing that we can do? Yeah.
I like that. So, with what he said, where do you stand then?
What a copy.
Which part exactly?
But he doesn't identify as Ndebele, he doesn't identify as Shona, identify as Zimbabwean.
Yeah, I think that's what I would expect most people to identify themselves as, just Zimbabwean. But there's a lot of, the tribal context comes in a lot.
It does.
A lot of Ndebele people are uncomfortable with Shona people, and I think, I don't know when it's going to get to a point where we all just identify ourselves as Zimbabweans. Yeah,
I've taken a stubborn approach. I've just literally said to myself, you know what? You could be having your fight. Personally, I don't care. I'm the most famous out of all of you. I have the biggest platform. I have the biggest following.
And that's how we shut it
So
down.
what I say is what is going to be remembered as canon. If the world is going to be destroyed today, I don't care about your squabbles. What they're going to remember is what Joshua Ncube was doing. And what Joshua Ncube said. If Carl identified as being both Shona and... Because what I say is that when I come out, I'm like, I'm a Zimbabwean. Then when people say, what's this Zimbabwe about? I'm like, I've got a rich heritage of being Shona and a rich heritage of being Ndebele. Which is why, for example, my grandparents were very strategic in terms of how they named me. They named me Carl Joshua Tinodavano.
Oh, right.
So they wanted to keep the fact that, however, he is also Shona, and that must also be recognized in there. And so for me, I think that's what represents what Zimbabweans are. How many Shona men do we know who have married Ndebele women? Ndebele men who have married Shona women. Why don't we ever talk about those stories? We only want to talk about the fact that, hey, because we took a concert ku Harare, how many Ndebele artists were there? Because we took a concert ku Bulawayo, how many? Those things are valid. Those are not the most important thing. The issue is that as a country, are we making money by exploiting all of our cultural heritage rather than bickering over? And Maunza Benaboy, is he Ndebele or is he Shona? How come we're not getting that debate? Yeah, why aren't we getting that debate?
No, that's true.
It's something that's troubling to me because if you go to America or overseas, you will see Ndebele communities always stick by themselves.
Yeah,
Shona communities are by themselves. It's like people from different countries.
You're right.
But these are people from Zimbabwe, but for some reason, they cannot just unite behind the fact that they're all Zimbabweans. Is there going to ever be a time, in your opinion, where we are all just going to recognize ourselves as Zimbabweans and take away this tribal card?
Right. So this is going to be a very difficult moment for me. Let me be a little bit controversial. Tongo blema warungu. What I mean by that is that when white people came into this country, colonization became more and more efficient. Like, just look at the independence of the different nations. There were countries where the British were just chucked out. They were just chucked out of the countries and whatever. And then they started negotiating better and better in the countries. So if you look at our colonization history, then think about how they colonized us. They colonized us by taking a lot of things and then defining them by one thing. So they said, what is Shona? They didn't care kuti unova manyika anasamanyika kana kuti makorekore whatever they said Shona. They didn't even care that you were Changani, Kalanga, whatever they called it in Ndebele. They didn't even care kuti mnodya rapoko sadzere munga, whatever they called it Sadz. Just everything about Zimbabwe was always being defined by one thing, which is why Zimbabwe just always had the monopoly. We just had the one airline, one TV station, one everything. If you look, everything is just defined by one. That's why we cannot recognize ourselves from a variety perspective.
Right.
We have to teach ourselves variety first. Kuti, it's okay. What is wrong, actually, with why must Zimbabwe have one national dress? Apana ambo, fine, the government has got its own initiative to get the national dress, but no one. So why do we wait for someone to tell us we must have the one thing? Why must someone tell us we must have, like right now we are on a platform.
Right.
This is no longer about a broadcasting station. It's a platform. Why cannot it not be celebrated as a platform? Why must it then incur the politics, this is the problem that we have as a country. Unless we can define ourselves by one thing, we always think we should just be one thing. But we can be many.
We can be. When you say that whole defining, it just reminds me every fizzy drink is called a what?
Yeah, exactly.
Every washing powder is called what? Mm-hmm. Every toothpaste is called
That
what?
is a result of colonization. We don't realize just how much we've been colonized. It's like to say, when foreigners come to the country, we say to them, Kuti, Chibuku is a traditional drink. No. Because every single region of this country has its own drink. You cannot call 7 days. 7 days yekumtoko, ne 7 days yekumzarabani, tsakasiyana. So you don't call it 7 days. The person who came up with that word, Reguti 7 days, akanyora bukiro Reguti 7 days. And I always argue, because I've got a company, a rural company that's called Ekaya. It's spelled Ekaya. Right? Ekaya. And I've got a lot of Ndebele people who say that's not how we speak. That's how we spell.
The H.
Yeah. And my answer is that shows how ignorant you are. Because Ndebele is written in English. There's no Ndebele alphabet. Right. So how can you tell me how it's spelled? I'm defining how it's spelled because I'm the Ndebele. If I tell you it's spelled Ekaya, that's exactly how it's going to be spelled. I'm not going to spell it according to some Anglophone like for what? For who? Yeah. How can you tell me spelled with an H? H is a British word that's used to do you know in Namibia they've now even put like exclamation marks, backslash, just to explain the different types of clicks.
Oh my goodness.
And the people of those countries are like, yeah, that's okay because a white person told us that's how we spell it. Nah, I don't subscribe to that nonsense. Like that, I'm here to just like, so if a person tells me that is not Zimbabwean, I'm sorry. I'm going to be the best Zimbabwean about the image I'm going to send out. I'm sorry. you are going to have to get my following, you are going to have to get my platform, you're going to have to get my reach and my influence in order for you to be able to challenge what it is that I'm doing. But for as long as I was born on a floor of Mpilo Hospital, I would define...
Supposedly.
Yes.
We were not there.
We were not there. Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
You know, with what you said that you don't identify as Ndebele or Shona, I used to be one who felt culprit in bragging about coming from Bulawayo.
Yeah.
Like,
You're 100%
you know,
Ndebele.
I'm Shona, my guy, but I grew up in Bulawayo, learned the language, became one with the people.
So
And
a lot of people just think you are.
And Ndebele girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and
cool.
it's a sad thing that happens in our own town. And for me, listen, I'm as proud a Ndebele person as I am, but I don't believe Ndebele is the ownership of Bulawayo. It's the ownership of the country.
The country, it's
So
not just a Bulawayo.
Ndebele people have
And if you can associate
Yeah.
with it, well,
Ndebele people have
kudos to you.
existed for as long as the migration has happened from South Africa, going up as far as Malawi, even Tanzania. So you cannot say that Bulawayo represents Ndebele. It doesn't. It just happens to have a large population, but it doesn't represent. So what it basically then means is that you can't then say, I find these conversations very strange when they say, oh, Harare doesn't book Bulawayo artists. Well, I'm a Bulawayo artist. I get booked in Harare a lot. So I'm like, so what is this conversation about?
You're the only one. And Sandra Ndebele.
No,
guys to
it's
music.
Bulawayo. Okay, let me give you some facts. Bulawayo, no, not even Bulawayo. Let's talk about Matabeleland. It's one of the richest areas of this entire country, coming from Victoria Falls right down to So let's think about this for a second. Bulawayo has specifically exported majority of our artists globally.
Okay.
There's groups on tour. Iyasa, Siaya, you have Nobuntu, you even have Mokumba. People who come literally from bypass Harare. We don't even know about them in Harare. Boom, out of the country. Yet, Bulawayo doesn't want to celebrate those guys. Do you understand what I'm saying? They don't want to celebrate its excellence.
Right.
Do you get what I'm saying?
But all I was just saying is I kind of get him when he says, like, you see, there's the Benner Boy concert. How many artists from Bulawayo are there? You understand?
No, but how many sing the music that can complement?
Yes. I know. I get.
Burna Boy type
I get
of-
the cry, but I also don't think they understand because it's like I can't speak Ndebele, right? So when I go to Bulawayo, and then I'm trying to ask for directions or something, guy usually speaks back to me in Ndebele, right? Because he assumes I'm a local, and then when I say I can't speak, it's like. People don't like that fact. They think that Shona people don't take time to learn Ndebele. But they must also understand that in Harare, there's rarely anybody who speaks Ndebele. So even if I wanted to speak Ndebele, who am I going to speak it with? You understand? It's not like I don't like the language or I don't like to learn. But how easy is it for you in Harare to learn how to speak Ndebele?
So interesting.
It's easier for you if you are around people who speak Ndebele, right? You every day you're learning something.
Yeah.
You understand? Yeah. So a lot of people have a problem with the fact that Harare people don't take time to learn.
Which is
to
true
learn
to
Ndebele.
some fact. Which is true to some fact. If you want to look at it, if you go to Bulawayo now and say Magadini, someone is going to respond to you. It might not be in the perfect Shona accent, but anukupindura.
In Ndebele, most of the time.
Yeah. No,
to show you that you're
I'm saying
Bulawayo,
even in Shona,
you must be able to speak.
No,
I've had these conversations.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying everyone.
So the funny thing with what even social media has done to us is like also we have to understand the context, right? When we're artists, we are in we're in a cutthroat industry, right? Yeah. We're in a cutthroat industry. Nobody is sitting in a meeting and saying, I am doing a gig, so therefore I must. Like, for example, I was once criticized when I did a show. I brought in some friends from South Africa. We did a show. On the lineup, I put Q, I put Doc, there was myself, right? The decisions to make that lineup were simply based on the fact that it was quality, the quality of the comics that I wanted on the lineup, right? I didn't think for a second that should I bring in any artist from Bulawayo. And let me explain to you why. I'm not about affirmative action. I'm just really about business. No. I'll be honest with you.
Sense.
Because there's nobody thinking about, are we putting Zimbabwean artists on the lineup in Malaysia? Do you know how I get on the gigs in Malaysia? I fly to freaking Dubai. I pay money myself. I go around the country raising money. I go to Dubai, right? Then I say to the promoter, I'm in Dubai. And then they say, oh, great. We don't have any African artists on our lineup. It's not costing us money. So I make myself, I go there.
You make it happen.
Sandra Ndebele didn't make it by just sitting in Bulawayo, just waiting for a gig to happen.
Same
For a
as
shit.
ASAP. ASAP is doing
yeah.
well.
So again, I don't like, let me be very clear about this, right?
Yeah.
I don't like a situation where we have meetings discussing issues on a national level of high quality artists sitting with mediocre artists. Because we have different needs.
Right.
True.
Right. One artist is pushing their agenda, is doing everything necessary to do what they're doing. But then you've got an artist that feels entitled. In the same room. And they have the loudest voice. Some of us, we don't go to these meetings. We don't go say our views. I'm too busy for it, right? Okay, why is it that in every time it's mentioned that Bulawayo artists are not being booked, why don't we ever mention the Bulawayo artists that are actually successful? How come they don't mention me? Why is that not important? Why is that not important to say that, oh yeah, we've got Joshua Ncube as one of our own who's done that? Why is it? Because it doesn't serve the agenda.
Maybe they feel like you're a sellout.
That's exactly what I'm called.
Yes.
That's exactly what I'm called. So at the end of the day, how do you push your agenda if the very people who are the luminaries are being called sellouts? You're not going to get your agenda
So
across.
do they call you sellout because you are normally booked out of Bulawayo? You're the same person. If they're saying they're looking for a Bulawayo MC, I can mention 3 that have worked outside of Bulawayo.
Right.
I can mention 3. And I know there's more than 3 MCs in Bulawayo.
Yeah, but
tell
like
me
you say,
which one. Tell me.
There's Babongile and Arthur.
Right.
And you.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So let's look at those names for a second, right? Have you considered Doc Vigela from Bulawayo? What you call it? Clive Chibuku, who's late from Bulawayo, right?
Oh, yeah,
Also,
Clive, yes.
Q Dube
Q,
from Bulawayo.
Yeah.
Right?
So which basically,
right.
which
And then when
basically
we
means
look at the South African comedy circuit right now,
are from Bulawayo. Then.
They are.
Those are the biggest.
They
ones.
are.
But you see now, Doc Vigela won't be counted because he's based here. La.
That's my point. Why does Bulawayo export such great artists, then choose to abandon them when they make it?
And then when they make it out,
And then
there,
now
like
you
what
want
you
to
were saying
now you
earlier.
want to say it's because why? It's because and sorry, my wife and my manager is sitting here, right? And she's gonna hate the statement. But when you protect mediocrity by using statements like that, it's dangerous for the industry because on the one hand, you should be using the luminaries to open the doors.
Yes.
So if you then take that out of the equation and say, okay, out of your luminaries who have left the country, how many of them have even won awards in your own state? Ask me.
Pachenyu.
Ask me. Ask
Okay.
me. In the year I did a TED talk and traveled around the world,
They
I
didn't
don't
give you
win
an award.
awards in Bulawayo. Ask me. What I'm saying to you is that why are you then saying, okay, fine, that guy is a sellout. Bo, it's okay. I'm a sellout to Bulawayo. Let it be known today, the Denny J Show, I'm a sellout. I'm the guy who's talking about my Ndebele heritage in Malaysia, in the US, in Australia, in America. And you are telling me I'm the sellout. I'm the one who's moved not only to Victoria Falls in the region of Matabeleland, then actually running a business in Bulawayo. Who's actually trying to change restaurants. I'm the one who's the sellout. Okay, so tell me the person who's the sellout. Come and tell me your credentials. Come sit here. Come talk to me. Come tell me what you've done.
Becky, this is what I'm saying about the tribalism. The fact that Carl gets booked a lot by Shauna and other people, it's a problem. Do you understand? It's
It
actually
becomes a problem in their eyes because
Yes.
okay, I'm trying to put
In
myself
whose eyes?
right.
No, let's look at
Whose eyes,
is
right.
pushing the narrative.
So you get a certain group of really vocal Bulawayo people who just want to be heard. Hear me, and they make noise about how Bulawayo is always left out when we do events. Why is Bulawayo never what? Right now, these people, what they're looking at is they want you to book the current Bulawayo people. Someone whom you're going to fly from Bulawayo, someone who stays and is resident in Bulawayo, fly them out and book them for whatever.
Who was in a concert at Nama before it started? Was it not Mukumba? Well, they're not from Matabeleland.
Yeah.
Are we separating Bulawayo from Matabeleland? Because that's also something that we have to be very clear about.
That's what.
Yeah,
okay,
but
that's the
Bulawayo
noise.
is Bulawayo.
That's what the That's the noise that they've made it about. Kuti Bulawayo is segregated. You guys, and I'm thinking, but I grew up from Bulawayo and I'm doing these things, and so you guys don't count me. The same thing that you're saying, Kuti, because you're not staying in Bulawayo anymore. They don't see anyone outside of Bulawayo as.
So here's the weird thing. So I look at my heritage being Shona and Ndebele.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I found very interesting, I don't need much to qualify to be Shona.
Right.
The qualification is very low. If they I know Ndwedu, Muzukuru, it's the end of story. Bulawayo. Guys, do you know the hoops I have to jump through just to prove?
Yes, as a stem again.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter ukuthi abantu bengathi encube so tinto abantu abahlafuna insimbi bageza ngocako because like it doesn't matter.
Yes,
the issue is that I have spent there was a point when I realized that it's so difficult to just perform for my own people because there's a layer above the people that appreciate what you're doing who are giving a bad name to Bulawayo. In the name of this whole Bulawayo is being left out. I mean, I've even been booked by promoters who have sabotaged their own shows saying, Ukal Zambon. Oh. Can you imagine fans online
now
saying,
we don't want to see him?
No, we'll show you.
After school is after school.
We'll show him. We'll show him. It's the same thing. It's like the outrage that always comes up every time is to say like, there's something about being Ndebele or being from Bulawayo that is like I have to qualify it by being more than just existing. It's sad. It's sad because it's a small layer of people that are coming out and the narrative is the same. But if you go on the board, that's why I wanted to explain to you, is that there are, you know what, the Shona people in Bulawayo have been welcomed so much in Bulawayo. Yep. Like the Ndebele culture is so welcoming, so beautiful in terms of like, I remember even my mother, when she being Shona, my grandfather would say, you don't have to learn how to speak Ndebele in this family. They have to learn how to speak Shona. It's a culture in Ndebele people. However, in the professional circles that we work in, and unfortunately we can't bring out any names, but there is a certain group of people in Bulawayo I really wish did not exist. I promise you. Because on the one hand, it's like it serves an agenda. And unfortunately, the Ndebele people are the most beautiful people you're ever going to meet. You will marry into their homes. You will have families with them. They'll accept you. They'll support your business. Yep. But somewhere in the top layer, somewhere in entertainment, we have a way of making Bulawayo to be like, you know, we've even heard situations where Shona artists will not perform in Bulawayo because they'll say, Tiendeko. They're literally like I've said, like today someone was telling me they're organizing a gig for a very prominent Zimbabwean artist who has not performed in Bulawayo for close to 7 years. And the issue is like, why has entertainment been segregated to that level? Because surely it's a business decision. Because ultimately, when a lot of Bulawayo acts get booked elsewhere around the world, nobody is complaining about it. They're, in fact, in Dubai, in fact, when we did Dubai 2020, I think when they project the Zimbabwean culture, it's actually Ndebele they are pushing. They actually push more Ndebele than anything else. If you look at our display at Dubai 2020, it's really about that. But why somewhere is it okay? It's okay for us to bring in a South African act. And even in that category, we still, there's the very guys who are complaining about Harare, will still sideline their own Bulawayo artists.
Yeah, I remember, I don't know what concert it was, Novio Seagull.
Right.
They were throwing cans.
At
Novio Seagull,
their own on stage. I would say, if you are a Bulawayo artist and you're doing badly, right? If you're doing badly on stage.
But it doesn't matter if you're from Bulawayo or what. Bad is bad.
I know.
No, but what I'm saying, ultimately at the end of the day, if it's that precious
the guy was singing crap.
I'm saying, if it's that precious to us as a people.
Yeah. Let's hide our crap.
I would rather. I would rather, because I've been to countries where, guys, I have seen mediocre performances, but that country, they worship their artists. In Zimbabwe, do you know, even if you're exceptional, someone will even tell you. Someone will even go as far as saying, Natio, as far as the fact that he's at the most successful tracks, right? It doesn't matter. Like, even I wasn't even listening to Natio, or I had to listen through my wife, right? Zimbabweans will still say, but say. I'm like, excuse me, Zimbabwe, can you stop, doing that? Yeah. You are assholes to your own artists. You are assholes. And I'm speaking as a people, we are assholes to our own things. Yeah, sorry. Like so you are assholes to your own artists. That's why your artists do so much better outside the country, because you are assholes. As Zimbabweans as individuals are amazing people. Put them in groups. Jesus Christ.
You wonder.
We are assholes. We are literally, how can you say Nati O? But problem, Nimfano, guys, fuck you. How can you say that about Nati O? You don't deserve an artist like that. No. You don't deserve Japraise and say Kuti. I'll tell you how bad Zimbabweans are. How can a Zimbabwean say Kuti? And this is how shit Zimbabweans are. Munasinga drive a Beamer. BMW. I drive a BMW. I don't drive a kanaka match. I don't get a 2 room somewhere. Some fucking shitty whatever. That person will tell you, Kuti, I don't know Benz haina diri pane Beamer. Haina diri. 2 of the best engineered fucking cars in the world. And you want to tell me these 2 cars, one of them are not diri. Fuck you. How can you say Cristiano Ronaldo, na Messi? Zimbabweans don't know the scale of, they're comparing 2 excellent things. And I bring this up because I get pissed off at the Japreza Winky D debate.
Okay.
Can y'all please fuck off? These are the 2 best artists we have ever seen. You cannot say one nadiri simply because you like the other. That makes no fucking sense in my head. How can you take 2? You take a diamond and gold, and you say gold is shit. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? And how can journalists even go as far as saying, who do you prefer? Guys,
so is it bad to have a preference?
No.
Say to me, BMW is crap, but Benz is the shit.
No. You cannot use the word crap. You can say, I prefer a BMW to a Benz. There's a big difference. One is like, it's like 2 bottles of wine. If you're sitting at a table, and if you sit at a high-powered table and someone brings out, like, for example, a scotch and a bourbon, right? And you can tell the lack of education of a person when they say that a scotch is better than a bourbon. Because then they don't understand what a bourbon is, and they don't understand what a scotch is.
So with the Japreza Winky D thing, it's like, don't call the other one crap. Just say
you don't have to use the word crap.
But I prefer Japreza.
Yeah, you please stay away. That's why even on my profile, I'm like, guys, can I take a conversation in $25,000? Can I say $25,000? Please, chimbo budam conversation. And it Timbo Sarnana and Varuta 25,000. Not good to my opinions. One and start out. Japreza is crap. Winky D is better. No. You can say, I prefer Winky D. Siana na Japreza. Japreza, ane...
It's got, yeah.
Yeah, because when you say crap, let me tell you what's crap. What's crap is some shitty artist somewhere who's actually producing crap. Japreza does not produce crap. Winky D does not produce crap. I do not like to hear my own artists who are luminaries. Let's just remember, luminaries in what they're doing. The best level we have ever seen. Do you understand? Then 21 are crap.
Yeah, okay. I think sometimes they do these things as a point of argument. Yeah. You know, just Congo.
All right. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to.
Okay.
By the way,
sorry, I got. Very passionate.
I'm sorry, I'm just passionate about how Zimbabwe.
He's passionate about it because he's in the industry. He's an artist. He's a creative. So things like this really affect that was one your work. Do you carry the same passion with comedy? Like the same passion about being accepted for, I'm just Zimbabwean, guys. Do you carry the same passion for your comedy? Like, I'm a comedian, this is my work, I'm putting my all into it.
I mean, like in Zimbabwe, when I have to perform a show, the papers don't want to talk about me because they'll say you have a show on one TV station, so the other TV stations don't want to work with you. You have to negotiate with venues. You have to talk to loan sharks to borrow money in order to do the marketing for the shows. You have to talk to promoters who are also going to take a lot of money from you to do, you know. When I travel outside the country, you know what?
It's easy.
I just walk up to the microphone. I perform comedy. I get paid my money. My wife and I are very happy. And I think it's a sad thing. Just sad.
Don't you think you put yourself in that position with the jokes that you tell?
No. I think it's unfortunate. I'll give a typical example. Wicknell. So I get invited by Nash to do, sorry, I'm just saying names. I hope people will look up the associations. But Nash brings me up. Wicknell has just opened a club in Borodale. They call me up to do a comedy show. They then say, Wicknell's going to be here. Down to 10 Wicknell to be dope. Chi. Then, cool. I didn't even charge for the show. Then the show gets cancelled. So I just thought, let me just continue the momentum. Since they said Wicknell is open to comedy, so I make jokes about him online. Then all of a sudden, Wicknell's on my case about me making jokes about him. I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe he's joking about, because Wicknell then writes a joke online. Carl, Carl is a small boy. You can't, Carl can't fly like me. Like, I was like, yeah, sure, Wicknell, I get it. You can fly in business class, but I understand it's because you can't fit in economy. But it's not like I'm saying, Kuti, just see and did it. No, I was just saying, Kuti, maybe, I'm saying Wicknell maybe is trying to save money, and did it because.
Cold in here.
No, I'm saying Wicknell maybe wants to save money because people think maybe Wicknell is like splashing money. But I did the calculations myself because I'm a comedian. I do the research, and then I realized, Kuti, one business class seat, and is a lot cheaper than 3 economy seats put together. So I'm saying, Kuti, no, but I thought, Kuti, no. It's just,
can we order coffee? Because I'm cold.
Yeah. So
it's just a chill. It just came in.
So the thing with comedy is that it's nothing personal. I don't know him personally, whatever. But the problem is that in a country where people think, I have a beef with Wicknell, I'm like, no, I don't have a beef with Wicknell.
So can we call Wicknell and ask him, do you have a beef with Carl? And he will say the same thing.
I don't think he likes me. I mean,
so you don't
personally,
have a
I've reached
beef?
out to Wicknell a lot. Mm-hmm. I have. I'm like, can we do a roast? Can we do something together? Can we do like... And then I realized the point to Kuti, because even at some point, even Stan and Pokelo didn't like me. I was like, but they did the sex tape. I wasn't the one to do the sex tape. Or even, so people don't understand the function of comedy. Okay. If you remember when Manetta poured water on Rocky, I think in the Big Brother house, people wanted to kill her. Like, as in, like, online people were saying bad things. Words like rape were being used and whatever. Comedy is there to diffuse anger and take it into laughter and just say, okay, you hate the person, but just laugh about it. Okay. Instead of wanting to do the bad things. So Zimbabwe is very difficult. You can't roast people. So I stopped roasting people, and then
you've done a lot of Mugabe jokes. Did you ever get into trouble with any of that stuff? Did people visit you?
No, so the Mugabe thing was a strategy, right? The Mugabe thing was a strategy because in comedy there's this principle like make fun of what they do, not who they are, right? Okay. So the biggest problem around Robert Mugabe is that if you made a joke about Robert Mugabe and he wasn't there, you would get into trouble. So the objective was try to get onto the Bona wedding. That was the main thing. So we started creating jokes with the word Robert Mugabe in the joke. Mm-hmm. The joke wasn't about Robert Mugabe. It was like Mugabe was in the joke. Like I'll give an example. Like I used to talk about how ZBC, you can't be famous because of ZBC because I always talk about Robert Mugabe. So you know how the news starts. Mm-hmm. The news will be like, welcome to the news at 8. My name is Hugo Rubatika. In our top story, the head of state and government and commander-in-chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, President Robert Mugabe, yesterday castigated the Western imperialists for their terrorist attack against Zimbabwe. Let's find out more from our chief political correspondent, Ruben Barwe. The head of state and government and commander-in-chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, President Robert Mugabe, yesterday castigated the Western imperialists for their terrorist attack against Zimbabwe. Let's find out more from the president. I hereby castigate the Western imperialists for their terrorist attack against Zimbabwe. And that was the head of state and government and commander-in-chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, the President Robert Mugabe, castigating the Western imperialists for their terrorist attack against Zimbabwe. Ruben Barwe, ZBC News, Harare. And just in case you're joining us, That was our top story there of the head of state and government and commander-in-chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, President Robert Mugabe, castigating the Western imperialists for their terrorist attack against Zimbabwe. Let's move over quickly to sports news with Spencer Banda. Spencer, are you there? Thank you so much, Hugo Rubatica. Thank you. That was a great story there of the head of state and government and commander-in-chief of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, President Robert Mugabe, castigating those Western imperialists for their terrorist attack against Zimbabwe. Unfortunately, we've run out of time for sports news. My name is Spencer Banda. So the thing about that joke, right, is Robert Mugabe is in the joke, but he's not the joke.
Yeah.
If you think about it. So if Robert Mugabe heard the joke, you'd be like...
that one was a cool one.
Yeah.
You got a wheelchair one. You got all sorts of other ones.
Yes. Okay. So okay. Yeah.
A whole lot of other ones. And
That's why I was asking, like, don't you think it's the type of the jokes or the way you say the jokes that got you into, like, no, we don't want him on our stage?
No, so I became more popular, better with the Mugabe system. Why? Because when I started doing the jokes just talking about Robert Mugabe. Then when I did the Bona wedding, what happened was, like, the CIOs were there saying, Ndara Farachi, my jokes are. So they felt more at ease that the jokes were not harmful to the state. Because the problem is, if the jokes are harmful to the state, then people don't like the jokes. So then the next level of the joke is that I ended up at a wedding where the president was there. And I remembered... I went to the toilet and my wife remembers throwing up in the toilet. I was scared. Yes. Robert Mugabe is like, because
some of your dopest material.
Because they didn't tell me that Bob was going to be there. That was one of my metal detectors. What's going on? Motorcade arrives and I'm crapping my pants, right? I go into the bathroom. I'm throwing up. CIO comes and says, I'm Dara. Otobata shumbane musk. And whatever you're going to say. Just know, say it with No. They said say it with conviction. Because if he laughs, then we are okay. Chatsingade, he doesn't laugh. Then we have to do something about it.
Then we have a Will Smith, Chris Rock thing going on.
Right. So when the president was there, I was like, thank you so much, Your Excellency. I'm so happy to be performing in front of you. I noticed there's a lot of people, because at that time, guys, things had now changed. Grace was not there. Maim Juru was sitting next to the president. Right. There was an issue between Grace and Maim Juru. ED was sitting next to Simon Kaya Moyo. Chiwenga was there. PV Swat. Like, I'm saying them with their first names anyway, because their titles, this show, it would take too long to say with their titles. Anyway, so all the people were there in that. So I said, everyone in the ZANU-PF headquarters has been saying the same thing about you behind your back. And I just want to let you know that I'm going to tell you to your face. Well, all these people have been whispering in ZANU-PF headquarters. You could have cut the atmosphere with a knife. At that point, I knew nobody could do anything to me at that point, right? Yeah. So I said, I know everyone has been saying the same thing, so I'm going to tell you. Everyone wants to find out if they can do a selfie with you. Do you know the room? Like the room. And then I take it a step further, but obviously, Your Excellency, I'm not going to use my own phone, because I don't want to be accused of shooting the president. So I'll ask someone from ZPC. So I was using assassination terminology the whole time. I was like, I don't want to be accused of shooting the president. So ZPC came in, they was like, so ZPC are going to shoot the president, because ZPC are the only people who have access to shoot the president. So they can shoot all they want, because right now, if they shoot the president and it goes well, everyone will be happy. So it was okay to use this terminology. But comedy, that's exactly what comedy is about. The person you're making the joke of should be able to laugh at the joke. I feel you fail as a comedian if the person doesn't respond in a favorable way. It's a risk, but what a comedian is trying to do is make the person feel like it's okay to laugh at what they're doing. And that's why I'll only make fun of my friends on jokes I've said to them.
Also, they've
heard
it before.
But you find that most of the time when you come up with jokes, you're not going to have Mugabe in the audience for you to judge.
No,
so you're going to come up with some nice jokes, which you're going to say at TED, or on CNN or wherever.
Yeah.
And then maybe the old man hears the joke, and then maybe it's not that funny to him.
So I knew this whole TED thing and stuff like that may come up because I had made an application before. So it was very important for me to do the Bona it was so important. So like when they announced that Bona was getting married, I started putting a lot of content out there about Mugabe in the words, like as in that was
intentional, right?
Yeah, it was intentional.
Right.
It was important for comedy because I think what the state didn't realize is that yes, I'm the most prominent comedian, but there were a lot of youngsters doing jokes that were really afraid for their lives.
They had good jokes.
Yeah, and the issue was like I needed to go in and make the step in to say I'm going to tell the joke so that the rest of you will be like, okay, Carl has told the joke, I can tell the joke, because then people don't understand. The first comedy show I did, I had to take my script to ZRP for them to
say with the board.
Yeah. And they were like, we want to see the script. You have to go to the censorship board. People don't actually understand how bad it was.
To ZRP.
Yeah, my show was cancelled twice because they had said Edgar Langerfeld had done shows before about the president. And so my job was not there to say, no, I'm not there to make fun of the president. I'm actually here to provide entertainment from a Zimbabwean perspective. So yeah, if I'm talking about our problems, I'm talking about them from a position of saying we're a country like any other. We're not different because when I've traveled, I have seen things that are very Zimbabwean in other countries. We're not special. It's just that Zimbabweans don't travel, so they don't know what's out there. They think Zimbabwe is that bad. They just don't travel. I can tell when a person hasn't traveled when they talk about Zimbabwe. I'm like yeah,
have you seen?
You just haven't gone to this country. That's why you're talking the way that you're talking. Yeah. So it was important for me that I wasn't serving the purpose of just being a comedian. The country has a different line that we have to instill national pride back into our people. We're not the first country to have problems.
Yeah, with the comedy that you're saying, talking about like it being different. Would you say that Zim has a lot of red tape when it comes to the type of jokes that we can say freely? Example, Trevor Noah, when he was in South Africa, one of his comedy shows, he says, I feel so privileged that I can actually make jokes about our president. At that time, it was Jacob Zuma.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel so privileged that I can, make jokes about Jacob Zuma, and nothing has happened to me. If I was to make jokes about the president from Zimbabwe, that other guy, he didn't even mention.
Yeah, he didn't mention by name. Yeah.
Yes, he says that other guy. I don't know if Jacob Zuma will come and save me because of the jokes that I've done about him, but it was still a funny joke, and he could say it and not get in trouble. But with what you've said, that you had to take your script to ZRP.
Yeah.
To be checked.
But you know what?
Like,
I think
the red tape on that.
I think with the new dispensation, it's a bit more lax because Doc Vikela does some really
so
over the top stuff. And nothing, no harm has come to him.
It's not harmful stuff that he does.
Well,
I'm talking about like American comedians.
You've seen he does the whole ED thing.
Sure, I think it's working in his favor.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, it's working in his favor.
So that's the key to comedy.
But back in the day, you couldn't do stuff like that.
Yeah.
What he's doing.
All right.
So that's the process that I was explaining. A lot of people don't take into consideration the process we had to get through to get there. Because to get to that level,
to where we are now.
Yeah, to get to that level, comedians did not have a place. Because let's just remember, Edgar Langerfeld was the only comedian in Zimbabwe. Maybe Michael K. and Victor. And what would happen is that a lot of NGOs would pay in the space to say, do a show and you're making fun of Zimbabwe. But without providing the necessary context of comedy, it would then sound like it's making a personal attack on people. So for example, like I said, you make fun of people like what they do and not who they are, right? So I can make a joke and say, Becky, loving the new photo shoot. I was like, I love the twins coming out, right? Yeah, I can say that joke because I'm not making a joke about who you are.
Yeah.
When I start personalizing and I say, your sister, and I do, that kind of, and I say things like that, then I'm getting personal, right? I think a lot of people, when they hear a joke, they just think it's personal because they heard the person's name. But when you think about the joke didn't say anything about the person. So then that person then goes next to, on a cow. And I think that's the reason why Wicknell ended up actually not liking me, because it's like, on a cow. Not so much the context, no, you know what? There could have been a beautiful relationship in terms of making comedy. Like with Stana, the sex tape had come out, so I was like, no, let's make a joke about the sex tape because I know Stana. We went to the same school. All I wanted to do was to make sure people were not focusing on the naked body of Pokelo on him. What I wanted to do was to talk about, let's just make fun of the fact that all of us, we make tapes. This was the only one to get broadcast, right? And then Stan and Pokelo end up hating me. And I'm like, guys, comedians don't make jokes about things that don't exist, guys. Stop getting angry at us. You are the one doing this stuff. We are trying to actually help you by giving you it's like a PR tool. And people don't know how to use this PR tool to say, no, let Carl, Gaya Ngaro 20 maningi ma points. Like, for example, Margarita interview na what you call it, Shaddai. Do you ask yourself why I didn't make any jokes about Shaddai? Why did I go for Run? Why did I go and attack her? I went and attacked her because I was like, we wanted to get back on point with the message, right?
Right.
Is to say, okay, we missed an opportunity here, but it was a heck of a funny interview. I'm not making fun of her because I don't like her. No, I'm making fun of her because I'm saying,
what was the joke, Baranji?
I just
missed that one.
No. I just kept going online and just talking about her. That's all. In fact, I don't even remember what the jokes were.
Okay.
But I just, from the interview, I didn't say anything about Shaddai. I just talked about Run. I just went on about Run, like, you know, whether she was running from the issues or she's running into issues or she's running into brick walls or she's running. I don't know what the G's were, but I know we were running. No, I'm just saying.
All you knew was you were running.
No, we were running, and we were running. Shaddai was talking. They couldn't agree. I was like, no, listen, guys, they couldn't agree. Fat plus size, we didn't know where they were. Tagwen Parliament. We ran with the issue there, and we don't know what we were doing, but all we know, that's all I was saying. But it's not because I hate a person. It's because I realized that, okay, this created a moment. And in that moment, what do we pull away as comedians to make people laugh, not get angry about issues? Because,
Okay, so laugh and not get angry about issues. As Zimbabwe, I think we are also like the biggest comedians ever.
Yeah.
They are hella funny.
Comment sections.
Comment sections is where it's all at.
You're going to be sad when I tell you why.
Why?
Comedy comes from fear. When you're afraid, you make a joke. You make a joke every time you're afraid. There's no other point. So when you come into a setting and let's say like people don't know who you are, you usually think, I wish I could say something funny. Why? Because it dispels fear. So fear is the primal place where comedy exists. That's the reason why Zimbabweans make jokes. Is because they are afraid. They're afraid of the future. So when they hear about toes being exchanged for cash, they will make jokes the whole day. Why? Because they feel like it's a fear. Am I ever going to come out of this debt hole that I have? It's better to joke about getting rid of toes. You look at your toe and you're like, hey, maybe I can get rid of toes. You know, like you never know. But it comes out of fear. And that's the reason why comedy exists, is because people are afraid in the world. There's a lot
face what's actually happening.
That's why they come to our shows, because they want to escape, and we give them an escape. We tell them their issues. Imagine people say weird things like, they try to compare us with Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle doesn't have to do comedy now as much.
No, he doesn't.
What he now does is actually talks about the exact topic, whereas he doesn't have to joke about it. But sometimes an audience comes there because men are afraid of women. Men are afraid of money. Men are afraid of success. Men have mental issues that they're dealing with. And so it's okay for them to bring their woman to a comedy show because the comedian might actually say something about the woman I'm with. I can't say this to her. The comic will say it. And you will say to him, there's a joke about how you spend all my money. But it's a joke, right? Yeah, so we're dealing with a lot of mental health issues. And comedy is that place to get away from that fear.
I was about to mention the mental issue. I don't know if you saw it. Someone just put out a tweet, like literally, I'm sure it was a cry for help on how it was a guy, on how he could get like mental help assistance. And so he writes and says, being a man and being in Zimbabwe is very difficult when you got mental health issues because you really can't talk to anyone about them.
Yeah.
Full stop. He didn't go on.
Yeah.
It was full stop.
Yeah.
Comment section. Yeah, because you get called things like menti, dipre, hello dipre.
Yeah.
So they made, I think later on, 10 comments later, that's when he got contacts, try and reach out to so and so. But the very first comments was a joke about mental health? Like, do we know where to draw the line?
Yeah, it's a good thing you brought that up because we wanted to talk to Carl about mental health.
Yeah.
Because in 2021, he announced in October that he was divorcing his wife of 9 years.
Yeah, we thought it was
and he was
crazy.
going through some mental health issues, depression or whatever. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, so like literally, men have never been able to talk. And I haven't been able to talk. And I talk about the fact that, I went through 2 suicide attempts when I was in the UK before I came here. And it's because I couldn't finish my nursing practice. They just decided, Kuti, no, we're not giving you your visa. Even though you're in school, you have to go back home. Wow. And I came back, before I came back from the UK, I decided. So my marriage to Nelsie is not my first marriage. I was married before. Okay. And so, I decided to try and commit suicide twice. And even though I talk about it, it's weird that you'll find every year when it's World Suicide Day, I get called by the press. Do you want to talk about your suicide attempt? And it's bad because, like, with men, we don't have a place to talk. And so, my wife and I, we moved off grid, before COVID, and we're starting our rural business, which is like a little startup to try and help rural communities to host people using. We created a website so they can host, and at that point, we started getting a lot of banks, NGOs, middlemen. Zimbabwe is bad with middlemen, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to tell the story without mentioning names because there's a lot of big organizations and people were there. But I mean, I want you to imagine that I'd received over 300 guests coming to a rural homestead of which they weren't invited, of which there wasn't an address. And the worst thing for my wife, and this is the difficult thing for her, is that she's the wife of a prominent stand-up comedian, but she doesn't have a voice. So you'll never hear my wife's voice. You never hear her talk about what I'm having to go through, about how, for example, we know, like, in Zimbabwe, things like award ceremonies happen, and the reason why some people don't get awards, why you don't see your favorite artist there, is because maybe they were asked to perform and they refused. Now they're not nominated. They're never nominated. You never see them. And then it's like we're celebrating other people who are willing to play ball, but you don't get, that kind of thing. And those people are showing up to my house, Those kind of people are showing up to my house. My wife is asking me, why are you continuing to entertain people who don't wish you well? And I'm like, you know what? You don't understand the game we have to play in this industry. I would rather have you not be there than have you fight me over what we're doing. And in fact, I was going through a lot of things, and I am going through a lot of things health-wise. Like you guys saw me walk in, like walk with a walking stick. I have my leg is my leg is pre-amputation. Yeah, my leg is pre-amputation, and it's like it's diabetes, and there's a lot of different issues that we're dealing with. We're dealing with health. You're dealing with things that you are struggling with, and then in that setting, at my age, there's a lot of things that are going on there behind the scenes, and you have a wife who has to go through that. And I think for me, I felt like it was better for her to not be there, and it was better for me to be destructive on my own and not, in fact, like I'll just say plainly now.
By myself.
Yeah, I would have rather just killed myself. I didn't want to kill myself having a wife in the picture, and I wanted her gone. So if she was gone, I could do whatever I did to myself. If my wife hated me for the decision I made, there was nothing. We were not unhappy. We were not anything. Luckily for me, I had a wife who just said, Carl, what's really going on? What's happening? Why do you want me out? It's not, it's not in your character. What are we doing? And as we talked about it, it was like a lot of childhood issues. I just joked about it earlier. I was like, being locked up in a closet and whatever. I used to sit in meetings and something would happen and I would be like, you're doing this to me because like I'm Ndebele, and we're talking about these tribal issues. They run deep, and a lot of the times I have just projected myself above all of this hate, and this hate has always come, and I've just dealt with it the way I've dealt with it. And so I was going through a very, very bad phase where I was now sick and tired of Zimbabwe. I was sick and tired of the fact that in order to do something great, you're doing something great for your country, there's always a fucking middleman there. Little weaselly shitbag of a fucking human being. They're trying to make money off you. They don't want you to have access. The president doesn't even know that there's a fucking shitload of people there who do fuck all. And all they want is they like, the president is there saying, oh, we want to do this, you're like, okay, we get it. Oh, we want to do this. And then there's this layer, scum here. And they are the ones every day at my house, in my inbox, on the phone, wanting a piece of me all the time.
So was it like to do with personal stuff or business
stuff? Personal. It's just, you know what? I've traveled to so many countries where people just hear an idea and like, oh, great, you need to talk to someone. Mm-hmm. They're just happy. Mm-hmm. Zimbabwe, man, it's just...
You can't get it without me. Like
the
Jesus.
Yeah, because I was surprised because I read that you had talked of this divorce, and then when you came today, you came with your wife.
Nelsie, and I'm like, wait.
Like your
No, because the thing is, you know what? At some point, I just thought, you know what? My marriage, my life is none of your business. Mm-hmm. My business is none of your business.
Say what they said.
No.
After you put you put your statement on.
No,
Facebook.
they didn't even read it. If you read the statement, it would just say, this week I asked my wife for a divorce. Mm-hmm. It was based on a lot of mental and health issues I was going through. And
Most
after talking about and after talking to my wife about it, I remember the statement very well because we wrote it together. Mm-hmm. I was like, after talking about it, we realized that I needed help. I needed to get. I
alarmist.
Yeah. No. I literally told them how bad the situation had gotten.
Why did you post about it? Couldn't you just go through what?
No, because I wanted people out of my life. If you saw me with my wife, it's because you saw me with my wife.
And you know what?
I'm not announcing myself as I'm not announcing myself. I'm not announcing any of those items because if I'm doing business, like normally if someone comes onto my Facebook, I used to just treat every like the same. But to be honest, there are people that are customers, and the customers are people that pay. Mm-hmm. So I must not entertain opinions of people that don't pay me. Mm-hmm. Why, like they're not like, because I filled my life with a lot of people that just thought they had room to say, each, and I could easily answer them and say, none of your fucking business. Because it's not. What do you want from me? Are you buying food in my restaurants? No. Are you coming to my comedy shows? No. Are you? Because I tour internationally. I don't perform comedy. Do you know in Zimbabwe I'll be like Kalapera or whatever. I'm like,
cool. In Malaysia,
it's okay. I've got my bookings that were cancelled because of COVID because I couldn't travel. I'm the only comic who was affected by COVID because I travel. Do you understand? Yeah, other comics could still perform locally because they didn't need PCR tests to go to Gweru or go to whatever. But we have to pay PCR tests to go to the countries we go to. So yeah, I had to cancel shows. So yes, I don't have a local market to perform to because I only perform internationally. So yeah, kupera kwangu kwa Auriga azvanga na basa because I have international engagements that we're like, okay, cool. Once we know that everything, is okay COVID-wise, we can still travel to those countries. So now you see us go on tour.
Carl is big on the whole off-grid thing. They're living in the rural areas.
In real life.
So when I saw the alarmist statement, I was like, no, this must be Nelsie. There's no DSTV. There's no... You understand? I mean,
Nelsie is like,
how many people can convince their woman to go in the bush where there's no DSTV or Showmax?
Did you see their wedding? Hold on.
Yeah.
Did you see their wedding? It was on a beach, Baba.
Bahamas or somewhere?
Where was it?
In the Bahamas. On a private island in the Bahamas.
And then you want to take this woman to the bush.
No Netflix, no Showmax, no DSTV.
So you know, I'm like, so can I tell you what's actually funny? So let me explain. My wife has a few advantages a lot of women do not have, right? So if my wife wakes up kumusha oti aruda kudya ocean basket and I can cook that shit for her. Like, as in she has an amazing chef that she lives with. So where she lives is not, yes, a lot of things cost you money. Right. It doesn't cost us money to do what we do. So we can drink a nice Chardonnay with a lobster and oyster boil or whatever it is.
I got you.
Because we can. Why? Because when we are off-grid kumusha, we've got our goats and our chickens. So most people think it's a chicken makaya. No, we're not. We're doing a mazoe chicken, which is slow roasted, and it's going to be nice and sticky, and it's going to be sitting around the fire, and we're drinking our wine, and we're living in our bus, and we're doing our thing.
No, but it was just scary to see. It was. I was just like, have they lost?
Dramatic shit.
I was like, have they lost? No wonder they're going through a divorce.
I know.
Really,
I blamed it on Nelsie the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, Nelsie snapped and she's like, I've just had
enough.
shit.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this thing with you anymore.
So in fact, our rural piece of land is like 5 minutes from the airport, Vic Falls Airport. Actually, it's cheaper for me to do my international tours than Kugara in main town Vic Falls. No Gara to airport, so I can go even on a goat drone carriage. No in this airport. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was looking at some of the places where you performed. Australia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, USA, and all over Africa, basically. And I noticed Myanmar.
Yeah.
What the fuck were you doing
In Myanmar.
Sorry.
I blame my wife for that, right?
Aung San Suu Kyi. What did it used to be called before?
Burma.
Burma. Where there's
Burma,
the military,
yeah,
the junta.
exactly.
Where's
But it was-
the junta? It's like, what the
How
fuck?
did you get there?
Yeah,
What the fuck were you doing?
in
Did
Myanmar.
I understand you?
No, do you know what's
You
so?
speak English?
So what's weird, right, is that so my wife and I wrote down all the countries that have had leaders in power for more than 30 years, and we found out Southeast Asia had a huge number, emperors, and so on. So we decided our key. I hate saying this because people start copying me and they start doing the same thing. But the easiest thing is like get close enough for the promoters to want to book you. So like I said, we fly close enough. So we fly Dubai, Abu Dhabi. We tell them we are in Abu Dhabi. The ticket from Abu Dhabi to go to Southeast Asia, each promoter takes on a fee of the flight.
Right.
So we did Indonesia, we did Singapore, we did Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, we did India, where we did Mumbai and Pune, and then all of a sudden we get a Thailand, and then we get a request to do a show in Myanmar. And my wife wanted to go to Myanmar so much, so we're like, okay,
Who wants to go to Myanmar?
I don't even know.
Dude,
I'm like,
my wife and
I
I
have a map, I have a globe.
No, it's one of those places where you don't want to go.
And I'm like, where is that?
Yeah. So the biggest. So why I was rolling my eyes is because in Zimbabwe, most of the stuff that I do, I get copied a lot, and people don't give me credit. Right? Like artists come into my
That's
inboxes.
important, auntie.
No, they come into my inbox. I give them advice, and they never say, "Oh, Carl, help me with this." Right? I'm not going to mention names, but there's a lot. Right? I'm old in this industry, and the one thing that artists make mistakes on is that they want to be famous before they travel. And I'm like, no, travel to be famous. There's a big difference. So travel even when you're, because people are willing to give a Zimbabwean a slot on any show. And Zimbabweans love to see a Zimbabwean do well elsewhere.
Yeah.
They don't like to see a Zimbabwean do well in Gweru. They want to hear kuti waspaka ku Myanmar.
I see a lot of that on Zim Celebs. Like they will post, so and so is on The Voice. This one, what support
Exactly.
the Zimbabwean.
Celebrating our people.
Celebrate our people.
They'll never support you locally.
Locally.
No, they won't.
bullshit.
They don't care.
Margarita,
And so what we did. The main thing is that people don't actually understand my business plan. There's a joke that people don't like that I say a lot, right? Which is, my name's Joshua Ncube and I'm the biggest Zimbabwean stand-up comedian in the world. Comedy has taken me to 37 cities around the world. 36 of those cities are in Zimbabwe, right? So people laugh at it and say, ha ha. But they don't understand that was my business plan. My business plan is to go to over 37 cities. I want to be the biggest Zimbabwean stand-up comedian in the world. I don't care about being the best in Zimbabwe. That doesn't mean fuck all. There's only 12 million people in Zimbabwe, 7 billion people around the world. So I want more people around the world to know who I am, because Zimbabweans also exist in those countries. And Zimbabweans are proud. If you are, why is Kirsty Coventry that popular in Zimbabwe? Was it because someone saw her swimming in Zimbabwe? Anyway, no. We saw her at the Olympics when the whole world was watching her. Tuku did 50 albums before people started giving him the international recognition. When he went abroad, people loved him there. Why is it that Zimbabwe is, even right now, in terms of media, why are all the online platforms doing better than the terrestrial? It's because the whole world is watching. The whole world watches what we're doing. Because we can't be sitting here and saying we're the pioneers of local content.
Yeah, like
Sure. Isaima transmissions. How many transmitters have we had to put up to talk to the world? We're talking to the world. We're talking to the world here. Why would I need to go to a place that wants to only talk to 12 million people? So the numbers only make sense, outside. So that's the reason for travel. Travel allows you to get 20 people, 10 people here. But there was one really amazing thing that happened when we did a show in Shanghai. We did 200 people in Shanghai. 20 people came to Vic Falls. And those 20 people went on a helicopter ride. Do you know what the commissions are on a helicopter ride? It's more than what I get paid as a fee. So now when I realized that, I have the influence to pull people from there to there, I stopped listening to Twitter. There's some good Twitter. I'm way up Vic Falls. You're not important to me in that imimi murunji taura kuti andina diri but vano kushanghai vari kuuya vachikwira helicopter nchipiwa mari imimi you are just pissed off. I don't know what you're pissed off at, so I can't address it.
Yeah. Social media has created a lot of comedic stars, you know what I'm saying, overnight. Comic Pastor, Madam Boss, these are people who they're not stand-up comedians.
Okay, all right. Yep.
But they're comedians.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Do you think this is a threat to your art? The proliferation of all these stars on...
No, because we've always known comedy as multiple genres, right?
Yeah.
So I'm glad you mentioned those two examples, because I was hoping you weren't even going to mention another name. It's like these two examples. Comic Pastor is a stand-up comedian. Skit,
I saw him perform
comic.
Very good,
So he's amazing. Like, first time I watched him, my insides almost came out.
He's
Madame Boss, probably one of the hardest working skit comics that I know. Yeah. And I can liken her to friends of mine like Ann Kansime, for example, who's a stand-up comic and whatever. But Madame Boss, great business acumen in understanding the combination. But people take this out of context. They don't understand Kuti. Tyra was a gospel musician. So it's not like she's not like a novice to being in the public, right? The other people that have come into the mix think free content online is going to make them big. Ultimately, I live by 3 principles: get good, get seen, get paid.
Right.
Those are the 3.
Ooh,
if you get good at what you do.
Get good.
Make sure that you've got the mechanisms to get seen,
right,
and then ensure that you have the systems to get paid.
Right.
A lot of these youngsters don't understand this equation. They're not. The stuff they're doing is not even good, right? Yeah. They're getting seen and they're not even getting paid, and that's very sad for me because I've heard horrific things about what they're being paid. So the public might say, "Good, my likes." I'm like, yeah, my likes are badare mari. And No, they don't.
No, but my likes now, you can monetize likes. If you're on YouTube, like these guys that I've told you, like Comic Pastor is on YouTube.
No. And that's why I said I'm happy you mentioned these two names. Because these two names, and I'm saying the others that are getting into this game, right, need to be very cognizant. Get good, get seen, get paid.
Yeah.
Understand mostly, especially on the get seen, understand what your target market is. Right? Becky and I have done corporate. We do corporate. Yeah. Right? So we know when you say threat, we know we're not under threat because we don't see them. But we don't. I do want to corporate.
But Comic Pastor?
No. That's why I said I'm happy. Yeah. No. Avandevedwa vanzwisa business vanzwisa business ningi
so you are seeing them as a threat.
No, I see threat ava vanhu vatoshana now
takati
tiri shocked kuti makazowadiscover imi pamakadiscover taitowaziva so it's not a thing. But what we always what I always tell you is kuti, and it's a very controversial statement, and it ukaona munhu achida kuonekwa too much anditi mara ipo. When you're making money, how do you go? You're not even trying. Because you see, the thing is, when you are making so much of an effort to make yourself known, because you see, the thing is, the deals that we make are in boardrooms. They're not on social media. It's a corporate calling you and you are charging them and you're invoicing. It's not a difficult thing to understand for people. But the public seem to think likes are the ones. No, they're not. They're not.
But you can come from nothing, get a lot of likes, and become prominent, and then start getting gigs. Correct?
Yeah, you can get gigs, but I'm saying it's the difference between getting paid. And let's say, for example, if your rate is between 200 and 500, and I'm charging 3K, there's a big difference.
Yeah, but
I'm
growing. I mean, of course,
Is it growing?
You're in the major league, right? In India, Tangaka.
No, it's not about no. It's not about major league. What I'm saying is like, for example, if I say 3K and I'm choosing my clients specific, right?
Right.
Versus like any client.
Mm-hmm. No, because remember when you're starting any client.
Ayo, but je n'ai my implications. For example,
in the time frame.
There's a reason, for example, in any, I don't exactly do weddings, right? I don't do weddings. Right. Why don't I do weddings? I don't do weddings because most of the times, weddings, I do them as a gift, say to friends or whatever it is, right? Like I use it as a...
Plus they don't pay as well. It's corporate gigs.
Yeah, but also people misunderstand what celebrity is. Iwewe, as a local celebrity, ukaona wakupiwa mari maoko mako iwe. The person who's booking you starts to think of you at the value of what they put in your hand.
Okay.
And that's a very dangerous thing. You have to remember that as a public personality or as a celebrity, you have to remember that there is a certain image that you must maintain. So that's the reason why we do tours and we go around the world, is to make ourselves unavailable for the booking.
Right. So you increase your value.
Yeah, you increase your value so that when you are available, the person who's booking you knows, could Carl, this time of year, we tried to book Carl from May to June, to May to December. You're not going to get him. Which means you need to book him in January for Carl to not go on tour for your gig. And for that gig, it needs to be paid in advance. A lot of artists were getting horror stories. And also, but those are the worst. Then, do you know, I remembered even one corporate gig, which was actually very sad, where someone who's more prominent was like, Anzi, no, tabuka these two acts. Andidi. Saka iwewe fee yako. Can you just reduce your fee so we can pay the two guys? And I'm like, what on earth were they charging for them? I was actually upset because they
lie. Sometimes those people lie. I've received those calls where they're like, hey Biggs, Kosa, we've received your quotation. Denny upper quotation, Kala upper quotation. You are the highest.
Yeah.
Like, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
What are you saying? And Zikisa price yako so that Tikwanse could die or so, and then we can. I'm like, then I'm not your MC. So
you're right. No, but that's the thing.
You gotta bring in a bit of arrogance.
If you know, but if you know, I'm glad.
I'll tell you tomorrow.
Yes, out.
Yes, hustle.
Yeah, I love that you brought this up because I think it's important for people to know. All these conversations are happening. And then I know, if I'm being brought up as an MC for a gig, I know there's competition, guys. Guys, that's why I said the statement I said about Bulawayo or whatever earlier, because I was saying, guys, competition yakatokora. Do you know Zauti zitarangu rinobuda mu meeting? In a meeting muna anu 10. Each person amu wake. Then you notaura, you kalane amount. Inini, I've kept the amount the same regardless, right? It doesn't matter. If I get rejected for a gig, I'm like, it's bore. I'm actually happy for the person who gets the gig because sometimes I actually look out. Gig. The problem is trying to match the. They don't realize game clients. It's just to know Zauti client. Again, artists, if you're listening to me, if a corporate is asking you for a gig for a launch, millions. Iwewe. Maria Urgu charge is nothing. It's actually nothing. Leave the gig.
Yeah, but how many of these small guys can afford to leave the gig?
They're not leveraging.
No.
No, what I'm saying.
Carl, you're talking like a big boy.
The problem in Dutara is that youngsters don't want to listen to. I'll give an example.
A youngster will charge you $1,000, but you can take 400.
Maybe people will be able to know. I don't want to get into an Amber Heard situation. But Panamfana, I don't think it's a Instagram account track.
Okay.
Right? Muna ane $250,000. Right? In
250K.
In less than.
Yeah.
Less than 10,000.
Right.
I want people to understand the business metrics of this.
250K.
250K muna think sachi account track for 4K. Indicate pa 250K was shire dollar from 4,000. The percentage of 4,000 people giving you $1 for that amount of money to keep your account is shocking for me. Because what are the 254? Who are these 250?
That's when the thing about the numbers.
That's why it becomes very important for you to understand the difference between kuti urikuita ma likes ndeyechi ma likes iwayo. Warasa business model. Chausinganzwise isusu, unfortunately some of us are old horses from broadcasting area or whatever. Isusu chatunya so says ndiani ariku head marketing. Ndiani ariku CEO. These are kuverenga newspaper kuri important. Yekuziva kuti ndiani mukuru wechi we organization. So that YouTube account rako arisire ma likes. YouTube account rako rakalinkwa to a MailChimp account which is sending emails to every CEO so that they know what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not for likes. It's to monetize. To monetize is not to monetize on YouTube. I'll give you a simple example. It's just we've got an app called Beeper, which my friend and I could we fresh in a box and we did. So for example, Vano Beeper number and it sends them a message and says, congratulations, you've won a ticket to win a show to Joshua Ncube's show. It's over to Londoners. It's over to the movie started. No, to write a show to Londoners. And why do you want to do a comedy show to Londoners? Because we love Londoners. It's just every show of mine, everyone goes to Londoners. But okay, cool. But how do we monetize the show? Let's go to Savannah and do every SMS. And then we put the deal together. This is not about likes. It's about business. If people don't understand, if people think, I'll get likes and I'll sit back, I'm sorry, you're in the wrong business. Because unfortunately, some of us don't have likes. We have business. That's what we think about. Come on. Iwewe kana urikuda kuti ndazofarwa nani ngarukutara. Unoza inini pa profile pangu panono ndoposta something, ndoposta nyama iri medium rare. Shunzona ndijike nyama ine ropa ndota ujike umba kwangu. Shamari wananojika medium rare, they pay $25 to $50 for a piece of steak. You, on the other hand, want a well done piece of steak? Cool. We know places in Harare where you can go get it well done.
Very few comedians have made the breakthrough like you have, like regionally and internationally. Why do you think that is?
I think it takes a certain amount of discipline to jump from the free adulation that you get from the local audience and the hard work that's required to get the international audience. So it's something like for me and my, when I say my team, I talk about my wife in terms of management had to balance. Do we want to be very popular in Zimbabwe or do we want to make revenues globally? Because we run our comedy as a business. So sometimes it's very difficult because every day when you look on social media, I'm definitely not the most popular comedian in Zimbabwe. Definitely.
Yeah. So what's the trick? Because Doc Vikela is killing it.
Yeah.
The late Clive Chibuku, may so rest in peace, he was killing it. There's a whole lot of very funny guys.
Yeah.
But they never make it beyond the borders.
Yeah, I think also it was a somber moment to lose Clive, but therein was the biggest problem. I think, for all of us as artists, we don't want to get to the level where people are raising money for any problems we have. And that was very sad in view of what we assumed was the support. I think we always wish that artists are able to take care of, the basics. Yeah. And so it's very difficult when you see on social media and you feel like everyone's doing okay. And then when things happen, then we realize things are not going as well. I'm a big respecter of Doc Vigela because he, with Doc, we worked together from a Simuka comedy perspective because that was one of the really big camps that came up from a comedy perspective. But I think Doc has been very good at monetizing what comedy is and growing comedians, because when a new comedian comes out onto the market, we send them to Simuka. And so that's also great. So people don't know the difference between comedy entrepreneurs and comedians. So Doc Vigela is a comedy entrepreneur. He understands the business of comedy. He understands how to set up platforms for comedians. So, it's very difficult because from my perspective, when I travel around the world, it's really about trying to show other comics, this is what you can do. but it's also very difficult because you can't force a comedian to do what you do, like to make the sacrifices we have to make. Like sometimes we have to do gigs. Go hungry. They don't know this. So someone from the press will say, "Carl, why don't you take another comedian?" I'm like, I must now pay 1,500 flight for a comedian who's not putting in the work I'm putting. Why must I do this, and for what reason? Because there are comics that are out there that won't even admit that I took them to other countries, and I had my fee split so they could get paid, and they won't even mention me to say this is how we got started. They'll mention other comedians, say, "Oh, thank you so much for this other comedian," but they won't mention what I do.
Right. So you have put on some comedians.
Yeah. I mean, I've stopped as a policy, and I want it to be known. I won't put on a comic from Zimbabwe, never, because the thing is like entitlement is a big problem. Because I used to do a lot. I opened up spaces. I opened up cities. I opened up platforms. In fact, people don't even know there's comedy clubs right now. Like even at Parker's Comedy Club, which is in South Africa, they have a list of Zimbabwean comics. If they call, I know Parker's is close on, but if they call, Joe Parker knew that, please book them. This is the list of the comics from Zimbabwe. But
so you can potentially put on a lot of people, but because of your experiences, your past experiences, you're not willing to...
You'd rather not, yeah?
No, I don't see what the logic is, because at the end of the day, I remembered one time I was trying to help the Bulawayo comics, because there's this whole like mafia thing stopping them from being great. And I put up an article, and one of the young comics there was like, Carl is being a crybaby. I'm literally defending you. I'm literally using my platform. I didn't need to. But I don't see why I should defend you because a lot of the work that I do, I think the public don't even know. Half the visuals and posters that you see that are being put up, I've designed personally. I haven't even charged. Like literally, comics can come to me and say, "Carl, how much are you going to charge to do a poster for my show?" And I'll say, "Pay what you want." As a graphic designer, I've sat there, designed, done videos, introduce people, but I'm just the guy that's not mentioned. But it's okay. I don't have a problem, because I think my status or my clout or where I am is much greater.
No, but
I don't need to be involved in there.
Yeah.
No, but Zimbabwe is not a thankful country.
But
you
do understand that you have a big role to play, because you are the face of Zimbabwean comedy.
No, so here's what the thing is. I know I'm the face of Zimbabwean comedy. If everybody came to the party and understood that making sure that pushing what I do is great, that would be okay. But right now, I'm 4 days into coming to Zimbabwe. Who in the media has talked about the fact that standing ovations in Rwanda, or that I toured Rwanda, is even been brought up?
It's Denny J show.
I'm waiting. No, I'm just waiting. I don't want flowers.
I think with
I don't flowers
like that.
No, let's be very clear. I don't want flowers. Let's just talk facts. Who has talked about it?
No one has.
Yeah, so
No one
I just have to tell myself that, okay, fine. All the mainstream media don't want to talk about me. All of the TV stations, they don't want to talk about me. It's okay. It's fine. I'll just use my profile to mention. But the day that I actually start to tell you that Ningi,
Then people
yeah, because that's how we have to get into. That's why I saved this place to.
About time.
Yeah, because this is the point where all emotion comes out of this whole thing. I think in Zimbabwe we think we are the custodians of other people's success, but we forget that people go out to be successful.
Right.
On their own. We don't need you. We didn't need you. We're just giving you an opportunity to be part of it. Mm-hmm. But I think the biggest challenge is that in Zimbabwe, we just want to say that we don't appreciate success. We always want to say that the underdog is better than the person that is paving the way. Mm-hmm. And it's a sad thing.
You had to bring out do we call those stunners or shades? What do you call
them? Sorry, I've never worn shades.
You're looking fresh.
I thought it's a thing that you guys do here.
Wait.
Like,
Stories.
yeah, exactly. Because that's a.
When we started, it was actually compulsory. It was Zongo Chila.
Oh, okay.
So
No,
you can't-
apparently.
you can't come on
I came with
here,
the
no.
dress code.
Nice.
Thank you. Ooh, Jesus.
What
Look
you
at that.
talking?
Shades and the dimples and the hat. How do we compete with that?
You know, it's difficult.
So how make sense?
When you spoke about like the different platforms you stood on as a comedian and a comedian entrepreneur, you broke that down.
Yeah.
You've been on TED Talk twice.
Yeah. Sorry. You said that too quickly.
Oh, sorry.
Twice. You don't do a TED Talk. Twice.
You don't do a TED Talk. Attention.
No, I'm just
You
saying.
don't
I'm
do a
saying.
TED
I'm
Talk
like,
twice.
unless someone can tell me someone.
Do that.
Yeah.
Twice.
Looking at the countless possibilities of where your career could have taken you. For example, Trevor Noah.
Yeah.
He's now there in America doing
The Daily Show.
the Daily Show, and
Jesus,
it's
wow.
like, flip, man, this African is doing it.
Yeah.
Were those opportunities availed to Zimbabwe also, or Trevor had to go in there and be like,
No, but Trevor was
Get
special, I
seen.
guess. Huh?
No. So
be
let me.
good?
So let me
Get
just
paid.
let me just explain something people need to understand about Trevor. Firstly, Trevor's a new comic that comes into South Africa and bumps into a comedy manager who is a legal student at a certain university. That happens to be a Zimbabwean. That's Takunda Bima. Takunda Bima is the producer of Daywalker, what actually built Trevor Noah.
Right.
And so it just shows me how it's not easy, but I think credit to Takunda Bima and the work that he's done with Trevor Noah, comics like Kagi Solidika, what you call it, Loiso Gola, David Kibuka. You then realize that Zimbabweans don't understand the extent to which Zimbabweans can be influential within the entertainment space. And it's really unfortunate is that Zimbabweans are not going to get very far because in Nigeria, you can be very successful. In South Africa, you can be very successful. But the fact that Zimbabweans don't consider Winky D to be successful,
Are we back at that?
it shocks me. No, it shocks me because Zimbabwe is the only country I have ever traveled to in the world where there is a very nonchalant, very specifically denigrating, very terrible attitude towards his own local art. So like in other countries where you can go into a hotel and you can experience the food of the country, you can't experience Zimbabwean food because Zimbabweans look down upon ourselves in such a. It's so bad that there's no way that I could look at a Zimbabwean and like a Zimbabwean could say that I'm proud of our country, but they're only proud because someone else has said Zimbabwe is great.
But on their own, you think?
Yeah, like for example, I'll give you a typical example. The bottom club in the Premiership in England, supporters come to the stadium and fill it up. Challenge me, Zimbabweans. Would you support a team that's unsuccessful? Because that's what support really is. Support is to back up anything. Failure and success.
I think Emma, you said. Sit down.
We use that.
Sit down.
We use Mari. We use Mari as a success, but sometimes we don't even understand kuti kuva kumba kwenyu munosiya gogo wepamusika munotengesa madomasi muchienda kwa OK mutown. Mari yamunospenda kuenda kutown. You could have supported local. Like the government. It's really upsetting to me that government is trying to convince people to be regular human beings. Support your own before you support the bigger corporates. But you know what? You'd rather actually support the bigger corporates who already have the money. You're giving them the money. But the person you're walking past in order to get to the corporate, Gugwane Msika, the kid at school.
Support those.
It's actually quite silly that you would go to church in Borodale. In your own neighborhood, there is a church. With a pastor, with everyone. But udakwenda uko kuna blaza vari kukunyepera yoko.
Miracles, miracle money.
Vari kukupai zvigunu. Amene zvari kuita pane zviri kuitika ikoko.
That would be scary, though.
The world record attempt.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. August 2016.
Jesus,
he
that was-
attempted to dislodge Mark
I
Murphy.
broke the record, eh?
Do you have
Did
the
you?
thing?
No, I don't.
Why?
So here's the funny thing. So for Guinness to give you that record, every show. So to give the
Just
context,
the background.
Yeah, the context. I had to break the record of most comedy shows in 7 days. The record is 30 shows by an Australian comic.
Mark Murphy.
Yeah, I did 31 shows, right? But the only reason why the shows were not verified as a record is because every show had to be verified by, say, press. They had to do reviews.
Listed and
They had to
everything,
do reviews.
advertised.
The press actually thought, kuti, tungo review my shows zvangopera. So they only did, say, 8 shows. So that doesn't qualify. Second thing, all shows had to be paid for. We managed to get that because at least we got every show
Paid
with the
for.
paying audience.
Right.
The shows had to be in accredited comedy venues. Actually, that's when we found out Africa only has, to fit that schedule, Africa only has 5 comedy shows in the whole continent, and all of them
Accredited
are
places.
in South Africa.
Oh, shit. Okay.
So we did shows in venues, but what people actually didn't know is that I actually did a run before the record and broke it, actually unofficially, and then broke it again. So it's not that difficult to actually break that record. The only problem is that Africa doesn't have the comedy infrastructure to call itself comedy shows and to break the comedy record.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, we then had a producer who held on to our footage and only gave it to us 2 years later.
Come on.
To prove that we broke the record.
And these jokes were not like on repetition. It wasn't like
No, we had to do the same show.
the same
Yeah.
show.
There's exactly the same show, yeah.
But tell me something with this show thing with comedy.
Yeah.
Obviously, as you tell the joke the first time, when you tell it the second time,
Yeah.
obviously in your mind it has evolved, it has become better. Do you then just stick to the first way that you've said it, or you allow the joke to grow?
So to be honest, the comedy is like music. So when you write a joke, it's like writing a song. So like when you listen to Trio, or you listen to, sorry, I'm just giving examples like, Abracadabra, for example, right? So the joke is written. So when you like a comic, it's the reason why you watch on Netflix, you watch Trevor Noah all the time. When you go to the comedy clubs, Trevor is performing those jokes all the time. The jokes get better every time you perform them.
You can only vary the execution.
Yeah.
Yep,
So the joke becomes, and then the more you travel, new audiences have to hear the jokes, and as the jokes get better. And sometimes when people bring people to the comedy show, they bring them because of the joke you once performed.
Right.
So it's a reason. It's actually the motivation to travel. So comics who perform new material are actually doing comedy a disservice.
Oh.
Right? Because the jokes are a theatrical performance. I'm writing.
stick to it.
Yeah, it's writing. There's a what's called a laugh ratio. So for example, I'm gonna spoil comedy for you now. So comedy, when you write a joke, there's a laugh ratio. So you basically are writing a number of laughs per minute. If you're at 4 laughs per minute, you probably will get gigs in a comedy club outside the country. If you do 6 to 7, you're okay. 9, there's some jokes that have like a roll. So when you're writing a joke, you can perform a joke and say, like, for example, it's in your head. It's like, my name is Joshua Ncube. I'm the biggest Zimbabwean stand-up comedian in the world. There's a laugh there. Then comedy has taken me to 37 cities around the world. Laugh. 37 of those, 36 of the cities of Zimbabwe. Laugh. I get to see things I don't get to see in Zimbabwe, like white people. Laugh. Then you say, I love the thing about white people because they're brave, because when we go to Vic Falls, when I take pictures at Vic Falls, it's different to white people. White people, when they take pictures, like, okay, John, I'll just get to the edge of the gorge. You want to take a picture? I want to get the gorge. When black people take pictures at Vic Falls, they're like, Denny, we are. Let's do a selfie. So the joke. The jokes are written. It's unlike skit comedy where the jokes are spontaneous. And in fact, if you watch the jokes on skit comedy, it's usually 1 laugh per minute. If you watch a stand-up comedian, you'll get. That's the reason why people don't understand why they like stand-up comedy and they don't like skit comedy. Because skit comedy is like 1 laugh per minute. Stand-up comedy is like 4 to 8 laughs.
I think that explains why. What's his name? He was a skit comedian. and then someone decided to give him a stand-up comedy show, and
it didn't work.
Baba Tenson.
Yeah. So
Baba Tenson.
that's a
Baba
typical.
Tennyson,
So that's a
yes.
typical promoter issue. So that particular promoter we've worked with before, and we've done shows with them before, but they weren't happy about how we want to put the show together because we wanted to curate actual stand-up comics. But because of the lack of understanding of stand-up comedy, they then put skit comics on the stage. And Baba Tenson is not working on 4 to 8 laughs per minute, he's working on 2 laughs per minute. And so eventually he gets on the stage and realizes that, oh, okay, people, because when you're watching on your phone, you don't calculate the laughs per minute. But when you're in a comedy club, we're very conscious about how many laughs we're getting per minute. We even know how many laughs we're going to get in the whole night. So you put Baba Tenson on a stage and you don't understand the laugh ratio, you have a big problem. And so a lot of people who find Baba Tenson funny on a phone may not realize that when you've paid $20, $10 to go into a show, to sit there, to watch him on stage, he's not Baba Tenson anymore. He's now a stand-up comic. And that's a different discipline altogether. And when like, there's gigs we even when promoters call us, we say, no, I'm not going to do the show. Because it's not, we know the audience is not going to get it. We know it's not going to work. And we know that we know
the audience won't get it, or you know your joke.
No, we know we know which audience you're trying to appeal to, right?
And then
Yeah, so we know that you don't understand how stand-up comedy works. And I'm only saying this for the benefit of people to understand when you watch a sitcom, you watch the laugh ratio, Chuck Lorre or whatever it is will give you a 6 to 9 laughs per minute. Big Bang Theory, they know the laughs that they're getting per minute. When you just want to take someone who's come up with an idea 30 minutes before you switch on the camera, it's completely different. So yes, I get it. The laugh ratio that's there on skit comedy is great. For a local audience to understand, great, it's okay. But unless you understand the technical issues, when we write jokes, we write the jokes. Like the jokes are written. Like as in, here's a laugh. This laugh is 3 star. This is a 4 star. This is a 5 star.
Mark the joke if it's not written, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was how many laughs?
Exactly. They probably would have arrested me those days. So like, yo, chirungoripa 1 laugh per minute.
Let's talk about Triple C.
Sorry?
Triple C. How did we get there? From 5 fingers to 1 finger, guys. We're already
Triple
selling
C.
fingers.
Cal can cook.
Okay.
I thought we were talking about the fingers.
Come on now.
Because I was
Cal
like,
can cook. I mean, that's your
I
hashtag.
thought they had 5 fingers. Now they have 1. I thought that's what we were talking. Oh, sorry, we're not there.
Hello.
Cal can cook.
Cal can cook.
Because
Yes.
he's a chef.
Yeah.
Celebrity chef.
Cal can cook.
Cal can
Cal can cook. Yes, I'm the original Triple C with more fingers.
Almost like, come on.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, no, I don't know why they settled for 2 fingers. They could have gone from 5 to 4 fingers.
So you're actually upset because
No, I'm
the hashtag
upset.
was
They took
taken.
my hashtag. I didn't have. I had that hashtag. I just didn't like. And then I woke up one morning, and then my hashtag went from food to politics. It's weird. It's such a strange feeling.
Yeah, tell us about the celebrity chef.
Oh yeah. So
How did that come about?
So my
From
mom.
being funny to wanting to cook. What-
Yeah. So my dad was a comedian part-time, woodwork teacher, and graphic design teacher. Technical graphics. And my mom was a home economics lecturer. So I just took the cooking from my mom. I just stole basically assets from my parents because they use them for free. So I monetize them. But my mom used to leave me a lot to just cook for myself when I was growing up.
Right.
And cooking, I didn't realize was a skill until I realized how many women I ended up with because of my cooking. Yeah, it was like after dinner, everyone wanted to marry me. It was very strange.
Is it that good though? Is-
I mean, my cooking is
Nels is not there to.
my cooking is amazing. So Nelsie was my best friend for a long time, and so she knows my history with a lot of different women.
And she still married you.
Yeah, she did. I think because I think because maybe she didn't see there was any potential in what they.
So she was like, I'm
yeah,
cool with
it's
it.
like
Let me just settle with this one.
yeah.
Was it that, or it was like best friend? Let's build this thing on a friendship.
Yeah. So how I got out of the friend zone, because I was in the friend zone for 8 years.
Yeah, that's
Is that I made
that's legendary. How?
That's legendary.
yeah. So I have to explain. So
Wait.
So I
got one.
Yeah.
He was friend zone for as long as they were married or close to.
yeah, close to right.
Yeah.
Two, almost 2 years off. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
So, why?
That's evil. Though.
No. So Nelson and I we've been very like amazing friends, right? But I think because before I went into comedy, I was like I felt like I was a bit of a rock star doing like animation and graphic design or whatever. Right. So I had very temporary, very short-term relationships with people. A lot of like people are celebrities today, but I'm saying I just had a lot of relationships that were out there.
Right.
And I suppose eventually Nelsie just held the principle that during that time I was married, so she didn't want to be with me. And so when I got a divorce, that's when Nelsie.
I'm here for you.
Yeah. So
Okay.
she agreed. She agreed to be in the picture, and that
she's disagreeing, but she's not saying anything.
I don't know why she's disagreeing because I'm telling the official
we gave her
the
a
official
microphone,
message
but
from
she
our
doesn't
marriage.
But you want to speak now. Like, actually, what happened was...
Actually, yeah, the truth is, yeah. I don't. So when she discovered I was divorced, she was like,
Let me get him.
Yeah. No. So I had to put a lot of effort. It was like 50 text messages, slow roast honey chicken, garlic bread, guacamole, garlic. Did I say garlic bread?
Yeah.
Garlic bread, guacamole, slow roast, and a garden salad. Yeah, and then that's what got me out of the friend zone.
So people at home take down the notes. That's
That's the recipe to get off the friend zone.
That's it.
Guacamole.
They get
Avocado.
That went to
So,
private
Iowa,
They
guys.
get out of the friend
You
zone.
need avocado,
menu.
Right.
salt, lemon.
How many parts salt?
Yeah, just salt to taste, exactly. Black pepper,
Yes, definitely.
some onion, finely chopped. If
Can
you're
I
a guy,
blend the onion?
no, please don't
Finely
put
chopped.
anything in the blender. Yeah, just
Okay,
finely
finely
chopped.
You mess that up, you stay in the
then-
friend zone.
Yeah,
Gotta do
exactly.
right.
Some tomato to garnish, maybe.
Okay, just
Yeah, chopped tomato to garnish.
guacamole.
Guacamole,
garlic
the hell
bread.
out of that friendship zone,
Yes.
and I got myself out. But the slow roast honey chicken is just putting like
I've
honey.
seen you cook with mazoe.
Exactly.
I've
oh my
seen-
god,
I've seen you cook
that
with-
is amazing.
Carl is going to get people sick out here, man.
You know
Guys,
what?
mazoe
Like,
chicken is the best thing because
Mazoe
I don't know if
chicken, is that
people
what you
knew.
call it?
Yeah, mazoe
Tell
chicken.
us about the book. Like, where
Yeah,
did
the
they get these
chikaf.
recipes?
Yeah, so when we moved into the village, everything we were cooking on a fire or whatever, that's what we put into the thing. But we've got like mazoe chicken, which is like, we realize mazoe is great to drink, but you know that
Yes, it's so
That's citric acid?
It
So where's the
so
recipes? Where do we get the recipes?
Oh yeah, so you can buy the book via EcoCash, and then I send it
How
to
much?
you. It's 3,000.
Denny, you wanna
3K.
3,000.
3K.
Yeah. And
Yeah, we
But
don't
we
move
have
with the
like
exchange
3K,
rate. We don't move with the exchange
Alright.
rate because we're like
3K.
an NFT.
Yeah.
And then there was a recipe on sting bugs.
Yes, yes.
The fuck?
Yeah, yeah.
Sting bugs. Am I right? Which ones are the sting bugs? Are
Yeah,
they
the
Which one?
the stink bug. They have a name for it.
The stink
And
bug.
The stink bug.
That
one-
green thing.
Yeah, no, yeah. This thing.
She don't know what she
I don't know it in Shona, but
So what I do instead of just cooking the stink bug, no, but the stink bug
What's
instead
it
of
called?
just
What's it
cooking it,
called in Shona, though?
it's called
Stink bug.
name it bug check injection.
Yo, fact check. What
yeah.
the
We
fuck?
need to fact check,
But-
guys. We need to ask.
But then
Usually the
Like
production.
when I see that thing,
it's not stuff that people
you
eat though.
you can't even kill it because the smell
said stink.
after that.
stink bug, yeah, stink
Stink
bug,
bug. Stink
You
bug.
can eat those things.
yeah.
Ah,
Oh man,
Chris,
the way that I
Carl,
cook it.
get us in the hospital.
Carl, who said you can eat those?
You can eat those.
Where?
Every part
Chris
of the
gonna get
road
us in
when
the
you're
hospital.
going outside of Zimbabwe, you see them on sale.
It says stink bug.
Yeah,
and then
stink
you
bug.
say you can
White
Harurwa,
people
Harurwa.
call it Harurwa.
Harurwa.
Exactly. Harurwa. What you do with Harurwa?
Baba, do we eat that shit? Yeah.
So what you do, and what you do is get the ladies and they grind when they fry it, they grind it, and And
With
it
what? With
creates
what, like,
no, they just grind mutskwine luri whatever,
Alright,
and then you get the paste. You know, for aroma, curry powder, aqua, cayenne pepper, salt, and whatever, and you take that, and then you use that inside, let's say, like a stew. You're doing a goat stew, you're doing a chicken stew, whatever. The flavor is insane. Forget about the smell. I mean, the thing is, if you just take any of those bugs and they are prepared for you in that way, beautiful. It's the same way that I actually I put on my steaks before I put them on the braai. I take what's this, biltong, and I put it in a blender or put it in mutsu, and then you blend it, and then the fibers you put it onto the meat, put it on the fire. Don't use salt. Those things already have too much salt on them. Carpenter, again, same thing, put it on fish. So if you're cooking tilapia, then you put carpenter blitzed in a blender, and you put it onto the food. Because the thing is, people don't like how the ingredient looks in real form, so they don't use it. But I found more tourists eat that stuff because they don't. I don't explain to them that I've used a little fish and you can see the eyes or whatever. They just like the fact that the fish tastes amazing.
Oh yeah. So that's the same with me. If you're to prepare that shit, don't tell me about stink bugs.
That's my point.
I'm not eating that
There's
shit.
no food in the world where someone explains to you how the food is. Like, imagine, would you eat eggs if you knew that the egg came out of a chicken's bum?
Are there
Like, would you eat the egg?
Are there other questions?
Yeah. Would you even eat the egg? Like, would you eat a steak if you knew that the cow was killed, throat cut open, blood dripping? Food is not about telling people what the ingredient looks like. The problem with Zimbabwean food, we like to present the food where it came from. The livers, the chicken, all the like the kidneys. We want to tell people know what kidneys feel like.
All right. So how many recipes are in this book?
Oh, so I've got 100 recipes.
How many weird ones? As weird as the stink bug one?
6.
What's the other one? Give me another one.
Okay, so we've
Cockroaches
got
and what?
No. So we've got Madora.
Okay,
which we can.
I like those. I like those.
Carpenter. Yeah, cow's head, pig's head.
Okay. I mean, that's acceptable. I don't eat that shit. But
no, you might say you don't eat that stuff, but do you know when I cook my pig's head? What I do, cook my pig's head, put rosemary, thyme, lots of garlic. I boil it. I take all the meat off the bone, including the tongue, chop it up into small bits, take a bit of the juices, put it in a plastic bag, roll it up, right? Then it becomes like a big roll. When I cut it, go look at my Facebook page. It looks like the very ham that you're putting on your sandwiches.
Does it taste like?
Exactly the same. Because why do you think you're eating why do you think you eat the sandwich meat? Why does the sandwich meat look the same the way that it does? Why don't they? It's not coming from meat, right? It's coming from all the other parts.
Right. Okay. So we're gonna put the number. We're gonna put the WhatsApp number.
I'm gonna get this
you can
book
get
just
you can
because I
get
want
this
to see.
cookbook.
Yeah.
Called Chikafu.
So it teaches you how to make your own cold meat, your own ham, your own ginger beer. I teach you how to make your own biltong. I teach you how to make your own cheese.
So what does it take for someone to have you cook for them?
Wow. Okay. So besides flights, accommodation, and 3K, basically it works out eventually to $10 per person. No, I know.
Yeah.
I try not to do the individual cooking for people. I try to do it more at events where corporates can pay. I know people just generally think that it's easier to just say, "Carl, how much will eat?" But there's caterers and people who do those kind of food events. I try to do food events like sometimes if I feel like it's good for marketing, I'll do that, but it's not really for the money per se.
All right.
I think it would be like an experience to close down a street long time.
Oh, that would be so
like
dope.
what they do. What was that place in SA?
Maboneng or like
They close down the street and have this long table and just taste.
That's the actual reason why
101
cooking has become too expensive is that
recipes.
the government has made it too illegal to do most of the food events that every other country is doing. So if you look at the top 10 tourism things that happen around the world, most of them are illegal in Zimbabwe. Airbnb, illegal. food sort of street food is illegal. Cultural food experiences, those are illegal.
Airbnb is not illegal.
No, it's what I mean is the fact that citizens can't just do an Airbnb. If you're not registered, you can be raided by the authorities and they'll shut you down. Right. So the biggest challenge is that we demonize entrepreneurship. So we've been to a lot of African countries that will realize that in Zimbabwe, if you want to be compliant, it's expensive.
Yeah.
So, but we could grow our economy easily by giving people a chance. So the cottage industry is making sure that people can start from zero with a path to compliance, and that it can make them a better business.
Right, so you've got the being like a comedian, comedian entrepreneur, international stages.
Yeah.
Carl can cook.
Yes.
Triple C.
Yeah, Triple C. The original Triple C.
And then, but you can say
I'm
Carl
gonna
can
get into
really
so much trouble for this.
You can be like, Carl can really cook.
Yeah, Carl can actually cook.
It won't have that.
CCAC.
Yeah, CCAC. Carl can. I like that. Maybe I should take
like
that.
Carl can actually
cook. Yeah, so it's like.
So that one's settled. And then there's what?
Ekaya. Tell us about Ekaya. I think that's the thing that is on in Vic Falls.
Yeah, so again, I think so people can understand my relation. My wife did a calculation of how much rent we had paid and realized we had spent about 300,000 in rent from when we left home.
Shit. 300K?
Yeah, 300K. Each of us, So that's really
RTGS?
No, US. Think about it. Since you left home, say 17, 18 until 43, by 2,
really?
The number came out to about 300K.
That's a nice house.
And we couldn't buy a house. And then I realized the more I was famous, the more I could rent. I could afford rent. So like I've stayed between places that are like 1,500 and 2,000 US rent.
Shit.
And then but that's what your career can afford you, and that's what the pressure of being a celebrity can afford you. And so when we moved to Victoria Falls, where rent is just really stupid, right? We realized that this is silly. We can't be paying 800 because we were paying 850, 900 in US in Vic Falls to live in a cottage in someone's yard. So Vic Falls is that expensive. Like that amount of money in Harare would have gotten you a nicer place, yeah. So my wife was like, we have to think of a plan. So we moved out of rented accommodation and then we moved into a tent. But we ran that as a business, renting out tents for guests to stay in $50 per night. And we used that to build a bus, to convert it into a home, and then put it onto a rural piece of land that we managed to get.
That's dope.
Yeah.
We got pictures. We need pictures.
So the advantage is that it's almost like what we call the catapult effect. Sometimes as a public personality, you need to move backwards to move forwards.
Right.
So it was a catapulting effect to...
Like Elon Musk.
Yeah, I needed to move backwards and not live nicely and live what people would consider, kalapera, and move backwards because then it would catapult me forwards. Because we could raise enough money, save enough money to put into our startups. We started thinking more in terms of, so we don't need to live in town because our gigs are like, you get 2 gigs a month. So if you're in town, they pay for you to come from Vic Falls rural to go fly to Harare to do a gig. So I didn't need to live in Harare. And I wasn't paying rent. That was the objective. And so we went and lived in the village, and then we realized that white people wanted to come and visit the village. So sometimes they were paying between $50 and $90 for me to cook around a fire. We're getting more international, viewership because of what we're doing. And on top of that, it just became a better lifestyle. Because we could buy more wine, we could buy more lobsters, we could buy more prawns, right? Rather than live in a house that looks nice. You can't eat a house.
No, you can't.
Yeah, so if the house is free, and
So how easy was it for you to make the move to get the land, to get the communal land?
Yeah. Because
how easy was that?
So what Zimbabweans don't realize is that you actually have a right to communal land. You can go to your village elder, to your chief. I would suggest go to the area that you were born in when your family comes in, because you can be given land to do that. For us, because we are in Ndebele coming from South Africa, we didn't have a rural homestead. So we had to go. That's why we went to Victoria Falls and we said, listen, we don't have a piece of land and the community was there to accept us, to say, okay, these guys want to do a rural tourism thing, so we are awarded a piece of land, and that allowed us to be able to build our
so
business.
it's yours, like it's in your
Well,
name.
communal land is communal, so it's owned by the state. So, but I
It's
know a
yours,
lot of
but it's owned by the
I
state,
know a
but
lot of
yours.
Zimbabweans use this argument to say, well, you don't have title deeds. I'm like, yeah, but the office that you're renting in town doesn't have a title deed either. You're renting. So, I mean, the thing is, if you think about your business from a period of 16 to 18 months gestation, I think you can really figure out how to run a rural business effectively. But if you're relevant to the rural community, you are going to stay longer. So I don't think Zimbabweans should shy away from things because there's no title deeds. Because what does a title deed mean? Because most companies do not operate in premises with a title deed.
I think it doesn't matter. It's like Kumusha Kwenyu. There's no one has a title deed.
Yeah.
Kumusha Kwenyu.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
no one's going to
So,
take
you
that
know,
land.
that's
Yeah, but it teaches you to work with the community. So if you're doing something that's selfish, obviously you're not going to get anything from there. But we started a rural development company that was trying to make sure that the rural areas could benefit from things like tourism. So if we could give them information to say, hey guys, listen, I'm a web developer, so I can make a website and visitors come and stay here. Then people can, like I was recently on the biggest food review show, best ever food review show, and it's got like almost, it's going on 2 million views, right? But that was filmed in our village, and now we're getting visitors coming to our village. So it's making people
about
understand.
a whole village experience. So people from
Exactly.
outside just come and eat the food
That's it.
with
Yeah.
the village setup.
Exactly.
So what sort of infrastructure do you have there? Do you have like rooms? And what's the vision?
Yeah. Okay, so the vision for us is for us not to be the operator, for us to be the facilitator. So, like, I think that's why people got it confused a bit, because people were thinking they were coming to stay at our village. And I'm like, no, you're not coming to stay in my house. I want my villagers to experience you staying in their house, but we have equipped them with the knowledge of how to convert their homes into a rural B&B.
So it's like an Airbnb for rural homes.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. But now, and it's called rural B&B, which is
wow.
yeah. So the thing is to say to people, you can come and stay in a village, but we don't want the barbershop. There's what I call in marketing a barbershop effect, where people say, I want to stay at Carl's house. I'm like, no, you can't stay at my house. I'm a celebrity. You don't come and stay at a celebrity. You don't go to Will Smith's house and say, I want to stay at Will Smith's. There's no product like that exists. But Will Smith lives in Hollywood, and then people come and they come and stay in Hollywood because of the celebrities. You don't stay with Will Smith, you don't stay with the celebrities. Our house is supposed to be there to bring attention to the village. You don't come and stay at my house. I mean, who are you to stay at my house though? It's a private residence, right? Aiwa, ndokunoya macelebrity ka vanonzi kwanzi Miss Becky kuzogara kumba kwedu. But I'm saying we're not there to say unogara kumba kwana Carl.
Right.
Unogara kumba kwemu village anditi. Then isusu takadzera business for you to stay in the village. But it's not to say you are there to come and invade in my privacy. I live in a village, but I'm not there at the behest of the public, because mine is a private residence in that same village.
So Ekaya, is it like is it online? Do people book online?
Yeah. So there's two ways. People can put their rural homesteads on our platform. So it's just a website.
What's
Facebook. It's ruralzimbabwe.com. Okay. So basically you load up your rural homestead, then we look at your rural homestead and say, okay, put a bed, put a light, put this. Because when visitors come, we expect them to have this. They will give you a cookbook. We tell you how to cook our recipes, for example, and this is what you cook. Yeah, that's why we made Chikaf, because the cookbook Chikaf was to teach people using. I have what I call 6 T's of cooking, which is taste, temperature, time, technique, texture, and theater. That's how you can create Zimbabwean authentic recipes. So that formula allows you from nothing to create an authentic recipe like you're cooking like me.
Nice.
Wow, I like that. Can you imagine cooking like Carl?
Yeah. It's so easy. It's not even complicated, guys. You'll be so pissed off when you figure out how I cook. You're like, this are
Yeah. All right. So where are you now? Like, what's Carl doing?
Yeah. So we're letting the world know that we exist. Rural B&B is for people. It's important. We focus the first year on understanding the rural setup, how we can get people to set up those. Then when I travel, when I'm now talking, my comedy, if people pay close attention to my comedy, go back to the jokes, you'll understand I'm selling something. And that thing that I'm selling is rural B&B. That whole thing about our culture, our narrative, why you need to come to Zimbabwe. Forget about everything you've heard politically about Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is a beautiful country. Like, no country is defined by its politics. We're still the safest country to be in. You can leave your car with your laptop in there if you're in our village, and nothing will be stolen. Yeah, fine, we're gonna umbare, but we're not pushing. We're not pushing township tourism. We're pushing rural. But gumusha ubiro chino.
Nice.
Yeah.
So a couple of months ago, if not a year or so ago,
yeah.
I don't know if you still do it. Like you go and you visit your brother. Is it in Botswana?
yeah.
Something, right?
Yeah.
I remember you posting a video. I think you were addressing questions that people were just throwing at you and Nelsie, and you were like, okay, I'm just going to address this. You posted a picture of you and your nephew. I think you were on a call or you were together.
Yeah.
But you were, oh my gosh, that moment was just amazing. It was priceless. It was
That's
cute. And then I think someone in the comment section says, is that your child?
Yeah.
And then many other questions. And then you were just like, listen, it's not mine.
It's on my yeah.
It's my nephew.
Yeah, because
this is your second marriage.
Yeah.
Did you have children in your first?
No. So this is a big thing. So what people don't understand is, I think it's a big thing because when people think you don't have kids, they look at the woman initially. I can't have kids, right? So I've already accepted that. I know this. Like even whether I was in my first marriage or in my second marriage, I think that's where we dealt with it a lot more, where we talked about it. And I think, we just resolved, like, if we have kids, it's fine. If we don't have kids, it's also okay. But we were very shocked that in Zimbabwe it's such a big deal.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand why it was that much of a big... It's actually such a big deal that when someone can't have an argument with me, the first thing they point out is that I can't have kids. And it's I was like, that's the most stupid thing, because why would I want to have extra tenants in my house? Like, why would you think that's like...
So what they thought is a low blow.
It's a low
really
blow. I'm
low
like,
blow.
Okay, Noble, you want to attack me for not having kids? Like, is that the best you can do? You're a battle rapper. That's like weak ass lame lyric you can come up with. Yeah. I'm like, it's weird because I think for us, I would be happy if I had kids. I would also be happy if I didn't have kids because I'm happy. I'm with the person I love. We do the things we love. But we also have lots of nephews and nieces. That's what people don't understand. Yeah. I'm the firstborn in my family. So like, I have lots of nephews and nieces. So like, when I think of us surrogates, I'm a very happy man with regards to the future of the Ncube, clan. I don't feel anything about it. I don't feel like, I feel like, we've got Jaden, who's Jaden Ncube, Timothy Ncube. He's the firstborn of my young brother. Okay. So he's the prince of this clan. And we've invested everything in this, in this boy, making sure that he's taking this clan forward. Yeah. But, we haven't had kids. I don't think we've missed this opportunity because of the opportunities that God has afforded us to see the world the way we have. Right. I mean, we've gone around the world like maybe 2 or 3 times. And I don't think it's, if we had had kids, we would have done the same. Our decisions would have been very different. So
it's it's not something that gives you sleepless nights. Like, oh my gosh, I don't have kids. Or I can't
no, I think what people forget is that when you can't have kids, you really try. And the trying is very enjoyable. I don't think anyone complains because like we're gonna try it this way. Like let's do 3 minutes. Right. Let's do 2 hours.
It becomes mechanical.
Nice.
Let's use these tablets. I think not having kids, the sex has been amazing. Like from that perspective. Yeah. But I think we put too much pressure culturally on couples' decisions. Like, for example, you find like couples break up because they can't have kids. And it's not because the couple had a problem with it. It's the relatives that had a problem with it. And so like, we've never, because Nelsie and I have always been the people, because when we were trying to get married, remember our parents split up and they got remarried. So we had 4 fathers, 4 mothers. And each person was like, we're going to have the wedding here. Your father can't be here. If we can't come, we will. Like, so the 2 of us were like, Nelsie, listen, I've just been given funding to do a tour of the US. She's working on the cruise ship. I'm going to come to the cruise ship, going to visit you. Then the people on the ship, like white people are very simple, guys. They were like, oh my God, you guys are engaged. Oh, you guys want to get married on a private island? Like, oh, of course we want to get married on a private island. And so we did it. It was free. I mean, if I calculate how much our wedding costs, it was very cheap. And when I think about how much Zimbabweans pay for their weddings and they don't get the experience, I've filmed many weddings and most of the couples are stressed. And they're like, for us, we enjoyed our wedding. We enjoyed the caviar. We enjoyed the seafood. We enjoyed the champagne. It was amazing. It was cheap. It was free. Guys, let me just explain to you. Sometimes, mathematically, happiness is husband, wife, right? Times relatives equals problems. Remove relatives, put the 1 + 1, you end up with 2, everything is perfect. Why do we focus on people that don't sleep in the same bed with us? What's the point of doing that? Why do we do that? Do you sleep in a tete wago? So why do you listen to her so much?
Why?
I don't get it. In our culture, sometimes we have sacrificed happiness for acceptance from a group of people who have their own issues. How many times when you've been during the lobola process, you go through all of this shit only to find out tete wangu achikunetsa was a hoe. Like when you find out, Kuti, that's what she was, to be honest with you.
Shit.
She was just a hoe.
Actually, yeah, you're making sense because my daughter was like 2 years ago. So we are planning our wedding, and I want it here, and I want all my relatives here. And he's saying, Sha, I want to marry you far away, like outside of Zim. Obviously, because of the cost, it's cheaper. And
guys, it's cheap. And think about it.
And I'm thinking, how will Tete Ningi come? How will this come?
We were, to be honest, we were kind of disowned by our relatives for a while. And even now, there's some relatives that don't talk to us
because of a wedding.
But guys, me and my wife are very happy.
We thank God.
That's nice.
Look, say it again
we are
so that
very,
people know that
we are extremely happy. Nice. There's nothing you can say on my social media, anything. We are very happy.
I would take that away.
We are very happy. And it's actually funny is when I was having my mental health episode, that was one of the things that I looked at the things that were making me unhappy and making me mentally frustrated. Those were the things when I eliminated, all I had was me and my wife, brought me back to happiness. It didn't take much time. It didn't even take any time to get back to understanding that my happiness was based on the person I decided I was going to spend. I was going to wake up with, and I'm going to be like, this is the person I'm with. It's not my tete, it's not my uncle, it's not my brother, it's not my family even understands. Uyu, he left his mother and father and became one with his wife. Hey, oh, shouldn't Bible. But
man, speaking of wife, you mentioned that she's your manager. I can feel her eyes.
Yeah.
On this side, she has pierced me. And
business, yeah.
Yes. So
we've had to go past time.
Yeah.
And she's been flagging.
Yeah. I'm not looking at her now because I'm scared her laser eyes.
Now, see, I think we're done.
Yeah.
She says, "Thank God."
She's just what at the bottom. I'm gonna say, yeah. Tino Dawan. Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
We want the best for people.
Yes, Musaneta.
Yeah. Let's not be tired. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, legendary comedian.
Oh wait, you want
celebrity chef?
Yep.
What are we doing?
Oh, the shots?
What's up? Oh, is there laughter?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
we got laughter. Yeah.
Is this one?
I didn't bring enough laughter in this.
The Denny J Show. Zvanga zviri down up tauraidzwe nyaya dzacho dzese narrative ndaichidwe kana mchida kutipisa deep ndaipidwe make you spill a bean if you know what I mean. Hande.
It's time!